By Ning's admirer 3. But she just won't forget about the other person, always longing for him despite not remembering his name. Why? I've stayed by her side for so long, and I don't even mind if she's married before and with a child. Why won't she accept me? Against that logic, Bai Yin only wanted to snicker a sneer, due to how shameless it was. So that's how you assume things? Just because you don't mind, she must marry you then? If I were in her shoe, I wouldn't want to accept a narrow-minded person like you either. You shut up. Ning Yuan snaps back, his eyes spewing glares of fire. You think just because you're her daughter that you're the same? I did so much for her, why wouldn't she be moved? Furthermore, because of her, I ended up having a baby with another woman. Pricking her brow in surprise, Bai Yin didn't expect an excuse like that. She made you have a baby with another woman? That's right. Ning Yuan seemingly couldn't grasp the outrageous logic there, and clenched up his face with gritted teeth. That day I was hurt by her denial, and mistakenly got myself drunk into bed with another tramp. Originally the experience didn't mean anything, but that harlot bore my child. And then she accused me of being irresponsible. Due to that reasoning, I ended up marrying that whore for her sake. Thankfully Ninger lost all her memories at one point. I still have a chance. Bai Yan's sneering mockery only grew deeper after hearing all that nonsense. Now let me get this straight. You getting drunk, and then sleeping with another woman is my mother's fault? Then getting another person pregnant is also my mother's fault? Haha. That's the first time I heard something so outrageously stupid. Just admit it. You are nothing but a disgrace that uses the other sex for your own self-indulgence. My mother never had you in her heart, and she never will. Going stiff after being pointed out with the truth, Ning Yuan snaps back with crumbling insanity. You filthy bitch. If you keep talking nonsense then I'll kill you now. Taking the corner of her lip into a snarl now. What, just because I'm speaking the truth? You're only lashing out because you know I'm right. Boom. Raging out with power, the man locks onto Bai Yin with glares of red and death. Die. Whether it be because of her relationship with Ninger, or the words she said just now, this girl must die. Under the barrage of hits coming down from above, Bai Yan's body went flying backwards again, until it slammed into a huge oak tree. As a result of the pain, she could barely keep the air inside her lungs at this point. Even so, this woman who never backed down in her life continues to resist, standing up and continuing to confront the man's pressure. I wasn't certain if Bai Ning is my mother or not earlier, but now I can say for sure she is. Don't worry, I will live to see her, and in this lifetime, you won't ever get another chance to meet her again. The woman's voice remains unyielding as ever, a fitting stance for someone so stubborn and proud. Shut up, you shut up. Perhaps it's panic or fear of what might occur from the promise of the woman. Ning Yuan's attacks grew more powerful with each hit he threw out. Yet, unlike the last assault, Bai Yan's figure never once took a step back, not one. By Ning's admirer 4. Ning Yuan may not want to let this woman in front of himself live, but not even he could ignore how persistent the lady was by rooting herself to the spot. What a shame. If you weren't related to Ninger then I might have accepted you as my apprentice. But you are, and for that, you can't live. She belongs to me in this life. When proclaiming this, a look of madness gripped the man's face like he's lost it, huffing a grunt at the shamelessness. You think just because you wish it that you will be able to stop her from returning to her family? Aside from me, there are many others looking for her. One day my father too will find her. Wordless at the notion, Ning Yuan flared red and reappeared before Bai Yan's face, his hand tightly clenching the lady's collar like a lunatic. Tell me, where the hell is that man? If I kill him then no one can take her. Naturally she wouldn't spill the beans, and mocked him some more with her smirk. Damn wench, if you don't tell me then I will make you suffer more than death. So what's the plan here by provoking someone that's lost all reasoning? If it was earlier then Bai Yin wouldn't have any, of course. However, that changed the moment she crashed into the oak tree. Just now the bond between her and the old goat has reconnected, meaning she's able to call her two familiars over time. That's what she needed, and that's exactly why she's stalling. If you want to know then why not ask my mother instead? Ho ho. A snarling growl filled Ning Yuan's lip. If she was willing to say, then she would have told me, before she lost her memory. Now I got no way to find out, because she can't even remember. I'm giving you one more chance, tell me now. Leaning against the stump of the fallen oak, Bai Yin didn't care, and closed her eyes to allow the man free range to wrangle her collar. Silence was the best, and it's the reason he's keeping her alive. You slut! Bang! Aggravated by the resistance, Ning Yuan throws another punch, but this time it's for the lady's face instead. Sensing it due to the wind blowing in from the front, Bai Yin reflexively blocked with her Godslayer. Just like the last time, the recoiling shockwave was devastating when flesh met metal, causing the lady to throw up blood from the mouth again, and making her complexion go pale white. Not done yet, the man throws another, and several more punches in quick succession afterwards. But right when he's about to finish the job after losing his mind, he somehow couldn't. Inches, only inches away, Ning Yuan's fist stalled, hanging there in midair like he's frozen solid. Bai Yin also noticed this oddity, believing her life was about to end as well at first, but then she soon realized why. Looking down, a muscular hand of pristine grace had wound itself around her waist, giving the lady the oh-so-familiar protective sensation from way past. Bai Ning's admirer 5. Yifeng, why are you here? She murmurs this out without a second thought, almost tearing up due to his godbrother's sudden arrival. This man saved me again. I might not ever be able to repay the debts to him at this rate. Chu Yifeng didn't respond right away, only loosening his hands first, and pulling the lady behind himself for protection. Wait here for me. After saying that, the picturesque man then locks onto the foolish foe who still doesn't understand who the interloper was. Boy, you'd better mind your own business otherwise. Ning Yin narrows his into a squint, the threat obvious. Acting like he's not heard the warning at all, Chu Yifeng presses forward with casual strides that seemingly made Ning Yuan flinch from the mountainous pressure coming off of his existence. The strength of this kid, it's not normal. Ning Yuan inwardly exclaims, finally realizing the boy wasn't someone he could easily crush if he didn't take him seriously. Do you know what kind of ending befalls those who hurt her? The young man's voice was faint but bitter and cold. They have all died after I hunted them to the end of this world to make sure they regret it. Bai Yin went stiff after hearing that. True. This man whom she thought of as a brother has done exactly that since she arrived at the Holy Land. Never did he allow those who hurt her to get away afterwards. But sadly, she could never answer his feelings knowing fully well what he wanted, and for that she owes him. Pursing her lip in the back, the lady suddenly found herself unable to look away from that stoic figure. She doesn't know why either, but she just got this strange feeling that the man before him has changed in some way since the last time she saw him. What was the change? Well, she doesn't know what either, it's just different. But then it hit her. From within the deepest part of Bai Yan's brain, a fleeting figure of someone she met only recently appeared. It's Chu God's figure. Yifeng. What sort of relationship do you exactly have with that god? She blubbers this out with uncertainty in her voice. Me and Bai Ning looking similar can be blamed on us being mother and daughter. We're blood related, but what's the deal with the two? They're practically printed out of the same silhouette. Aside from the aura that's slightly different, there's no difference. Chu Yifeng stopped moving then, giving the lady the illusion that he's stiff and rigid like she's caught onto something critical. Nevertheless, the strange behavior he had soon recovered to focus back on Ning Yuan who had begun his attack. I told everything to this stinking bitch. No matter what, she must die here today. The scum vows inwardly after throwing the first punch. Chu Yifeng remains unfazed and indifferent as ever naturally, even if his opponent was an incredibly strong one. With a wave of his sleeve, he repels the first attack in addition to throwing a punch of his own. Boom. In an instant, powerful shockwaves rocked the valley, due to their fists colliding with one another. Trees were destroyed, rocks crushed, and the whole terrain a cratering mess. Yifeng. Bai Yin cries out in urgency. Looking behind herself, she attempts to find signs of her two familiars who should be arriving soon. Sadly, they were nowhere to be found still, and left her disappointed and panicking. Mother and Daughter Reunion 1. Ning Yuan was furious as the fire burned within his chest. He wanted to bypass this young man, whom kept getting in his way but couldn't. Yenner, you go first. Sensing the murderous gaze flying over to the woman behind himself, Shui Feng faintly mutters this out as a precaution. I'll come to you later, so leave first. Bai Yin didn't comply like the man wished, only staring coldly at Ning Yuan, who's also shooting death glares in return. Please leave first. Finding no movement, Shui Feng says it a second time. Don't worry, I will be all right. Now go back, your baby needs tending. Bai Yin trembled at the reminder. This man, he's always like this, so tendering and caring. Just now during the fighting she may have focused all her energy around the stomach area, in order to protect the baby. But a bit of the scum's residual force still managed to get inside despite her efforts. So, unless she takes good care of the injury soon, it would inevitably harm her unborn child inside. Wait for me, Yifeng, I'll be back soon. Giving one final glance of guilt, Bai Yin rapidly turned away knowing she's leaving him behind to his own bidding. Stop! Ning Yuan went pale at this sight. Despite wanting to stop this from happening, the scum couldn't go any further because the second he took a step forward, the young man's figure had come again and blocked his path. Your opponent is me. Always as indifferent but with a cold chilling note. Shui Feng's expressionless face was unreadable, which only provoked the scum further in this manner. Both men are powerful individuals in their own right. As a result, the friction and force created by their auras pounding against each other was incredible and awe-inspiring. Boy, the woman's baby, it's not your child, is it? Yifeng didn't answer, only calmly gazing at the scum for signs of movement. And due to this silent attitude, it gave the bastard the answer that he wanted. Is it worth it for a woman who would bear another man's child? Ning Yuan throws another punch after saying that, but was caught by the boy's hand instead. In this scum's view, the woman he loves could only bear his child and no one else's. That's why he's getting so confident. So what? So what? This light and mild retort from Shui Feng left the scum stunned and blown away. Truly, Ning Yuan never expected another man to be able to withstand such a thing. That's equivalent to a wife cheating on their husband in his mind. I promised her before in this life that I will never let anyone hurt her and her children. That means no one. Exactly like this young lord of the Holy Land says. He's done precisely just that and kept to his oath. He's a true man. So, as if making a statement, the grip around Chu Yifeng's hand tightens again, creating a crunching sound against the scum's fist. Is this boy really stupid or just acting? Dilating his eyes inwardly, Ning Yuan couldn't believe his own ears right now. It's already bad enough to protect another man's woman. Now he's also protecting another man's child? Isn't this as stupid as it comes? Ning Yuan couldn't hold back his derisive sneer at the thought. You don't want me to kill her? Fine, I will make sure I kill her then. Boy, I admit you're quite the strong one. But compared to me, you're still lacking. As usual, Shui Feng didn't speak and ignored the man's taunt, which only made the scum more outraged and more furious as he withdrew his fist. Now an immeasurable force hovers around both men's body, like it's going to crack the sky itself. Mother and daughter reunion too. Bai Yan's figure shuttled through the trees at incredible speed after she made her escape, only stopping after her body could no longer sustain itself due to fatigue. Sweating droplets across her forehead, she wordless rubbed her own belly, since the last of her excess energy was spent on protecting the baby. I'm sorry for putting you in danger. I'll check on you right away. Gently smiling, she then quickly pulled out a replenishment pill to help recover some of her lost strength for the task. But I believe in you, my baby. No matter what happens, you will continue to stay with me because you are strong. Seemingly able to hear her cooing voice, the unborn child sends a heavy kick to her tummy as a response. It still hurts for Bai Yin to have a strong bump like that, but it made her happy nevertheless to know the child's well. Minutes later, after examining various parts of her own body, the lady frowns and mutters to herself, I guess I underestimated the strength of a high divine after all. His power hit me harder than I thought. Recovering from this will be more difficult than expected. It's then at this moment a flashing image of Ning Yuan's face popped up again, causing her eyes to tighten into a cold, chilling glare. But regardless of what happens, I will make sure his plan doesn't succeed. I will find my mother in this life, and I'll make sure she learns the truth. After vowing to herself on future plans, the lady attempts to get up again to no success. The pain from pulling at her wound left her breathless and gasping for air then. However, she didn't need to move. Exactly right as she's deliberating on what to do, two familiar energy signatures had caught her attention. Swinging her head around with a joyous smile, she could see it was none other than Dragon Flame and Half Ching Sing. Dragon Flame, Half Ching Sing, you're finally here. But where's Dragoni and Xiaochen? Shouldn't they be with you? Twitching in the corner of his mouth, the old goat really wanted to bash at the lady for being so inconsiderate when they rushed over with such haste. I've came as soon as I got your message, so I couldn't inform him in time. Are you hurt? Drawing a happy-go-lucky smile of his own, the old goat was enjoying the sight of the lady being in such a messy state. Ragged clothes on her body, blood stains here and there. What a sight to behold! Humph! That's what you get for scheming against me. I really should go thank the one who did the deed. Bai Yin naturally perceived the guy's thought. However, she didn't care and kept herself from arguing. 300 meters from here are two people. They're fighting right now. The one wearing the white robe is Xiaochen's godfather. I want both of you to go help him immediately. Dragon Flame and Half Ching Sing both didn't want to help, of course. They got nothing to do with that conflict. But because of the constraints placed onto their soul, due to the soul-binding contract, they could only do as ordered. Though begrudgingly, of course. Mother and Daughter Reunion 3. Oh right. Seeing that the two were about to go, Bai Yin hurried to ask for one last key detail. Where is my son and daughter? I'll go to them right now. Inside the largest inn of Luqing City, Dragon Flame threw out this answer without struggle. They should be waiting for you there. Done with that, the old goat and snake immediately took to the air and hurried over to the indicated location. The pair may not like helping the lady in whatever matter she has gotten herself into, but they knew enough their freedom relied on satisfying the wishes of their newfound mistress, hence their hurried pace. This is good. Yifeng should be fine with those two going to help him. It's time I went to find Xiaochen and Dragoni. Bai Yin thought, pulling herself up from the floor and giving one final bittersweet glance before heading for the nearby city. Inside the inn, Bai Xiaochen had been holing himself up inside the room with his sister after they decided to stay here. He's very bored, but also very worried at the same time, which could be seen by the frown and constant sighing from his mouth. Why didn't Mother come find me yet? Pressing his chin against the hand that's finicking around with the chopstick, he turns to Dragoni for some comfort. What am I supposed to do? I miss Mother so much. Despite the woes of the boy who did nothing but mope before the many dishes on the table, the young dragoness, on the other hand, was gobbling up the food with great interest when she looked up. Gidge, you don't want to eat? I don't have an appetite if Mother is not around. Placing the chopstick down after giving that comment, he just stared at the table for no reason, before breaking out into another sigh. Dragoni, why hasn't she come for us yet? Do you think she has already taken a liking to a new baby, and don't want me anymore? The boy's expression dissolves into that of someone suffering some great grievance. That voice pathetic and whiny now. Then before anyone could reply to the kid's pointless muttering, his ears pricked up, and he slammed the table with his hands while jolting up. Dragoni didn't expect this, and also jerked at the sudden commotion, of course. Food in her mouth, she cluelessly inquired for details. What's wrong? But without giving an answer, Bai Xiaochen ignored the wondering eyes of his sister, and quickly ran out the door. As soon as he did so was when he saw the familiar red dress that he's been waiting for. Likewise, Bai Yin had also noticed the little steam bun that's gazing down at herself from the second floor of this establishment. She didn't bother to hide her relief and happiness while standing in the main lobby, where the rest of the patrons were. Immediately opening up her arms at the boy who had literally threw himself into the air, the lady happily welcomed the warm emotional welcome. Mother! The boy locked onto his mother's body like glue, refusing to let go in the slightest. Why did it take you so long to find me, Mother? Are you already in favor of another baby, and not want me anymore? Amused by the silly remark from her son, Bai Yan's first reaction was to scratch his nose to remove the idea. Silly. Why would your mother I go look for another child when you are so adorable and cute and sensible? Only with that comforting phrase did the little steam bun release his genuine smile of happiness after being so glum for all these days of wandering, burying his face into the woman's chest to seek comfort. Mother, I missed you so much. Before I went into the secret domain in order to grow stronger, so I couldn't see you at all. And then it was not easy to get a glimpse of you after you and Batty Father came to find me. In total I barely got to be with you for more than a few days in the past few months. Mother and daughter reunion 4. One hand wounding tightly around the boy's tiny body, the other around his head. Bai Yan heavily hugged her son to no end in order to make up for their separation. And as if to answer her calling, Dragoni had also ran down from the stairs by then, her face just as excited as the boy but with 2 braids flinging up and down due to all her running. Dragoni, I'm here now. At first the little missy was still standing in front of her own godmother in a dumb dazed state, due to how suddenly she arrived at their place. But that instantly changed, and evolved into a honey-sweet smile, as she pounced as well upon coming back to reality. Now it was Bai Yan who was taken aback by how much these 2 kids were attaching themselves to her. Truly, she never expected they would miss her to such an extent. Looks like I was wrong from the very start. Making them wait at the demon realm wouldn't have worked from the beginning considering Xiaoqin's clingy personality. I should have expected this. Mother. Bai Xiaoqin suddenly grabs onto the lady's hand after the embrace. I have something to tell you, But before the boy could divulge whatever's on his mind, a soft gentle voice had come in from the 2nd floor, and catching the group's attention, Xiaoqin. Did your mother come find you? Drawn by the signature of that voice, Bai Yan turns to look upwards, and was rewarded with the familiar blue dress and face from not long ago. To say the person was a body double of herself wasn't an understatement. Likewise, Bai Ning also did the same in this case. Though she already knew Bai Xiaoqin's mother was very similar to herself in appearance, but the level of likeness was uncanny even to her own eyes. You. Bai Yan's voice sounding shaken by the encounter. She splutters and ends up saying nothing due to the emotional waves running inside. Whether it be in the previous life or this one, Bai Yan has never gotten a chance to experience the bond of having a mother, hence her strong bond to the little steam bun. She needed to make up for the hollowness in the heart over the lack of motherly love. Now imagine the news of actually being able to mend that loss. There's no way the lady wouldn't be moved beyond words. Showing a faint sorrowful smile, Bai Ning was the first to break the silence. Lady, are you Xiaoqin's mother? If you are, then that's good. I happened to pick him up along the road, so I'm happy that his family is here. Bai Yan choked again when trying to speak, which only made it more apparent when the little steam bun interrupts her. Pretty granny, my mother and us were all driven out by my batty father. We got nowhere else to stay, so can you take us all in? Only then did the stunned-looking Bai Yan recover from her initial excitement. Frowning at his little boy, Xiaoqin, does your father know that you're framing him like this? Naturally the boy knew exactly what his mother was indicating to with her questioning face, but didn't care. Showing teary eyes, the kid continues to stare at his grandmother for help. Meanwhile on the other end, Bai Ning was lighting up at being begged to let them stay. To be clear, she was just as hesitant to see the group go, so this arrangement was like a windfall. The perfect setup in her view, if she could have it. If lady wishes to stay, then of course that's fine. Your decision? A while later, after staying quiet, Bai Yan finally got to express her opinion. My name is Bai Yan. You can call me Yenner. I'm somewhat unaccustomed to being called lady, so please call me by what my family and friends do. Flashing a smile of hope, the woman didn't bother to hide the level of yearning in her voice now. Mother and daughter reunion 5. Happy to oblige the request, Bai Ning said. All right, how can I refuse when you're insisting already? I will call you Yenner from now on. By the way, do we know each other at some point? Her soft, gentle voice left Bai Yan visibly shaken, because the way she said it hinted at something else. Truth is, I don't remember much about my past anymore, but I always felt like I should have a daughter. I know this because I was holding a baby's doo-doo when I came to again after losing my memories. So, I've always believed my loved ones would come find me one day. Making a sigh, the lamenting lady's mind faded back to the time where she would yearn for someone to come seek her return to where family and friends waited. Sadly, that day never came, and eventually she too began to lose hope, replacing the feeling with disappointment and regret. Bai Yan acted right away upon hearing that shocking revelation. Dilating her eyes into a squint, she promptly shot her spiritual feelers out for examination. The patient herself naturally sensed the intrusion into her own body, but Bai Ning didn't resist and closed her eyes instead, thus allowing the other side to freely explore her condition. Make no mistake, she would never allow someone free-range exploration of her inner body, especially someone she's just met, and no longer than a few minutes. However, a strong urging from deep within told Bai Ning to get closer to this young lady, without any specific reasoning. Mother, Bai Xiaochen blinks and turns to ask his parent, is something wrong with pretty granny's body? Showing a complex expression, Bai Yan eventually spoke to explain her findings. Her memories has been sealed. That's why she couldn't remember the past. Sealed, visibly shaken by the news, Bai Ning furrowed her temple until the entire face had scrunched up. My memory loss is not because of an injury, but a seal? Who could have done this to me? It looks like she is unaware of her own memories being sealed. Bai Yan thought, her eyes narrowing into a dangerous slit, because she could already guess who did it. Forgive me for asking, but do you know someone by the name of Ning Yuan? Brother Yuan, you know him? Surprise apparent on her face, Bai Ning reveals a smile at the mention of the name. During the years when I lost my memory, it was Brother Yuan who kept me company. He's a good person, and saved me from danger several times already, so I consider him someone as close as a brother. The only shame is Brother Yuan having unwanted ideas about me. Otherwise I wouldn't have snubbed him and kept my distance lately. Bai Yan could see the sort of face her mother made at the mention of that scum. That's why she held back on saying more than it's required right now. Trying to poke at someone who's made such good memories in someone that has lost their past wouldn't be a wise choice. In fact, it could ruin her own chances of taking back her own mother before their relationship could even begin. Auntie Ning. Dun dun dun. A series of running steps unloaded between the stairs, followed closely by the appearance of a beautiful-looking young girl hovering on the petite size. Though that face was innocent and kind-looking on the surface, but the dirty light in those eyes couldn't be completely hidden when skimming over the kids in that moment. Auntie Ning, this lady is... Oh, her name is Bai Yan Xiaochen's mother. Bai Ning didn't know why either, but she just didn't want to make the introduction, hence the faint frown on her face when speaking. Mother and Daughter Reunion 6. Yenner, this is Ning Yuan's daughter. Bai Ning also introduces the petite girl after composing herself. But that's all. A simple introduction without any extra detail of someone happy to do so. Ning Yuan's daughter? Without bothering to hide the negative opinion of the girl upon remembering the scum's attempt at her own life, Bai Yan's face definitely fell on the negative side of the scale. Sister Bai Yan. Ning Yu naturally didn't miss the behavior, but nevertheless kept to her smile. Heck, she even managed to hide her disgust of the other side entirely when speaking this time. Xiaochen is a very cute child. Although I like him a lot and can't bear to see him go. But you are his family, so it's only right he leaves with you. Humph. Throwing shots then was none other than Dragoni, who's been listening from one side. She's very unhappy and openly snorted. The girl clearly called us little beggars before, and wanted to get rid of us. Talk about disgusting to change face that quickly. Oh I forgot to tell you this. Soft and light-spoken. Bai Ning's voice didn't hide the happiness in there when explaining. Yenner is going to be staying with us for the time being, so Xiaochen and Dragoni aren't leaving. One could literally see Ning Yu's face drop into an icicle white during that moment. It just couldn't be helped. The petite girl was actually quite happy inside when she realized the mother of these two brats were here. Yet instead of getting rid of them both, there's going to be another one added? What's worse was the face of this supposed lady called Bai Yan. How could she be so similar in appearance? Suddenly, an idea flashed within Ning Yu's mind, causing her eyes to stare out in horror. It can't be. Is she? Is this Lady Auntie Ning's daughter? The more she thought about the idea, the more Ningyu felt it to be the case. However, the second she noticed the added attention of her Auntie Ning from the side, the petite girl immediately reverted back to her jolly-go-happy face. That's wonderful. Does that mean I will have a sister from now on? Auntie Ning, you can't forget about me just because Sister Bai Yin is around. After throwing that out there, the girl promptly hooked her arms around Bai Ning's in a playful manner, her face acting all innocent and cute. In her own defense, the performance definitely hit the mark there, which could be seen in the appeased face of her Auntie Ning's. Yenner, you must have worked really hard in order to find your way here to these kids. First take a rest at this inn. Don't worry. If your terrible husband comes around then I'll throw him out with the broom. Bai Yan's face visible went black in that second, and turned to eye her boy for some answer. In response, Bai Xiachen only stuck his tongue out in guilty conscience, because he's obviously been caught red-handed. Mo. Bai Yan had wanted to address mother like she should but quickly remembered to stop herself. Changing her words. Auntie Ning, I will take Xiachen and Dragoni to rest first. Despite her efforts to remain silent on the secret, Bai Ning's ear wasn't one to be fooled so easily. Freezing up with the amazed look, the woman in blue snatches on like someone catching a lifeline. What did you just call me? Hesitant in her voice. Auntie Ning. No, not that, the word earlier. Did you call me mother? Truly, this woman who lost her memories didn't know why she's acting this way either. She's just, well, she just could hold herself back and began to weep. Ning Yuan and his daughter's scheme 1. Pretty granny. Bai Xiachen draws a huge innocent smile then. My mother never met our grandmother when she was young. That's why she called that out after meeting you. She found you too similar in appearance and couldn't help it. Pretty granny, why don't you become our grandmother for real? That would be wonderful if so. The little guy's big blue eye was bright and twinkling with stars, a huge contrast to that deep black eye which still gave off an eerie chill when met. Bai Ning's heart trembled at the explanation. Silently raising her head to meet Bai Yan's, the voice in her throat carried a trace of caution and nervousness, like what she's about to say would either ruin this meeting or bring it to a higher level. Yenner, since we are so well fated, would you be willing to be my goddaughter? There's no question in the lady's mind that Ningyu has been faithfully following herself for many years, but it doesn't the fact that the hollowness in her heart couldn't be filled by this child. Now this was where Bai Yan and her son came in. The moment she met them was when that hollowness faded away, replaced firmly by the yearning and desire of someone meeting another precious individual in their life. This feeling was indescribable and difficult to ignore. Auntie Ning. Ningyu finally lost it, her nails deeply piercing into her own palm at the way the situation was heading for. Based on what? Based on what can this woman and her 2 kids steal my Auntie Ning? What right do they have to steal someone else's important person? Despite the outcry, Bai Ning continues to remain oblivious to the effects of her own words. It's crushing the petite girl inside. It's not like the lady was being cruel on this matter. She's just too fearful of being rejected right now by the one person whom she yearns for the most. Likewise, Bai Yan also felt that connection right now, making her all emotional as her hands pressed against her own chest. Is this what they call mother and daughter bond? Mother. Soft and shaky, Bai Yan's one word stiffened the nervous grandmother and unsealed the dam of tears already swelling around the eyes. Good child. From this day forward you are my daughter. Don't worry, you're children and you will never be in danger anymore. I will protect you all. Looking at Bai Ning's elated face, Bai Yan didn't say anything more. She knows revealing any bad news regarding Ning Yuan would be foolish and crushing to her own biological mother at this moment, however. That doesn't mean the situation wouldn't change once she got a chance to tend to that seal inside her mother's head. Thank you, mother. But me and the kids are getting tired, so I'll take them to their rooms first. Oh yes, silly me. You must be tired after coming all this way to find them. Go ahead, their rooms are just upstairs. From beginning to end, Bai Ning's attention never once left her real daughter. That's why she didn't realize the vicious expression hovering around the petite girl's face when watching the family's figures disappearing up the stairs. How did this slut do it? How did she make Auntie Ning take her as a goddaughter this fast? I've spent years trying. How can she get ahead of me like this? She will pay for this. Biting her lip, Ning Yu vowed inwardly to get revenge for this transgression. Then, without any indication, Bai Ning, who was walking ahead of the petite girl herself, turned, causing the last to frantically retract the vicious light in her eyes. Auntie Ning, Yenna will be a sister to you from now on. I hope you can treat her like a real sister, and not be like before. I won't repeat myself again on this matter after that disappointment, understood? Ning Yuan and his daughter schemed too. Ning Yu clenched her fists on both sides and forced a smile. Don't worry, Auntie Ning, I promise you. Only then did Bai Ning return her attention back to the woman next to herself. Let's go, Yenner. Bai Yin nodded, of course, but right as she's about to continue up the stairs, she had caught a glimmer of the viciousness in the petite girl's eye. If it was under normal circumstances, she would never allow such a threat to remain nearby. But it's not. Ning Yuan, you will pay for what you did. Your daughter may not have done anything yet, but she's clearly the same type of person as you. Mother, I am hungry. After returning to their room and being left alone again, it was Dragoni who spoke first by rubbing her round belly and salivating on the mouth. Bai Xiaochen immediately shot a look at his sister. You ate so much already and you're still hungry? Especially her tummy, it's so big already. Dragoni immediately made a grievance face at the scolding. It's true her tummy was round and big, but it only takes a short moment for it to be all digested, so she's not lying. Against this picture from her daughter, Bai Yin could already guess what she's thinking, knocking on the little head with her knuckle. Didn't I tell you not to eat random things? If you continue to be like this, then you might get indigestion like the last time. Seriously, what is this girl thinking? Didn't she learn from the last time by eating all those humans? Now she wants to eat Ningyu? Oh, hanging her head pitifully, Dragoni complies readily. I will listen to mother, I won't eat her. Gidge, big brother. Already said so. Mother is always first, so I must listen to her words unconditionally. Even if I'm hungry, I can't eat Ningyu. Not long after the small interaction inside their room, two familiar energy signatures had caught Bai Yan's attention while they were resting. It was Half Qing Sing and Dragon Flame, who has returned from their mission. Feeling a heavy weight lift off her shoulder, the lady urgently wanted some news. How did it go? Did Yifeng suffer any injury? As soon as Chu Yifeng's name popped up was when the little steambun's eyes lit up, hurrying to pull at his mother's arm for information. Mother, is Godfather here? Where is he? I miss him a lot. Slightly frowning at the reminder of a missing third, Bai Yin turns back to the two familiars. So where's Yifeng? Why isn't he with you too? And what happened to that Ning Yuan? Answering was Dragoni Flame. The man you call Ning Yuan ran away once we arrived, and that Chu Yifeng left by himself, saying he has something to take care of. The wonderful news brought a wave of relief to the lady's heart. That's good then. If he's alright then that's good. Unlike his mother though, Bai Xiaochen was rather disappointed on the face, after hearing his godfather had left on his own. He's been missing the man a lot after they left the Holy Land back, then. So it's another missed opportunity today. We didn't manage to kill that Ning Yuan guy. Dragoni Flame begrudgingly throws out this comment on his own, his face angry and insulted. In this old goat's mind, there should only be a handful of people capable of escaping his grasp. Ning Yuan and his daughter scheme 3. It's then the snake also spoke up. You said so before, if we protect your son then you will grant us freedom. Does that still count? Pricking her brow, Bai Yin forms an unreadable smile at the two. What I promise will of course be counted, but that time is not now. Half Qing Sing's expression changed dramatically. Are you cheating us? I said I will return freedom to you both, that's true. However, I also know that you will attack me right away if I do so. Is that not right? She was only able to form a contract with these two ancient monsters due to her deception. If she does do as they wish at this moment, then they are sure to kill her on the spot considering their grudging nature. Bai Yin could still handle the snake thanks to her Godslayer sword, But Dragon Flame was another story. Whether it be the physical body or internal strength, the old goat was on a different level compared to herself. Upon hearing those words, Dragon Flame's complexion also dropped. He just knew this was how it's going to turn out. She never intended to return them their freedom. But you don't have to worry. I'll give you two your freedom sooner or later. It's a pity, but I can't do it now and require both of you to stay by my side. Giving a shrug as she continues. Besides, I only promised to give you two your freedom. I never said when or where. When the time is right, then I will terminate the contract as I promised. Going silent for a long while, the old goat finally spoke again. All right, I will believe you this one last time. I hope you can really follow through with your promise, and not play word games with us. Dragon Flame, the snake angrily cried out after hearing that. How can you still trust her? Did you forget how she deceived us in the underground world? I did not forget. Although this woman is very abominable in her ways, but I can still believe in her words. Since she said she will grant us freedom, then it's just a matter of time. Bai Yen pricks her brow at the surprising level of trust. You know me very well? I've told you before already, you're the one who locked me away down there. Why else would I hate you to such an extent? The old goat grinds his teeth in frustration and annoyance, going black in the face. And I've also told you that it's not me. Why do you keep mistaking me for the wrong person? Humph! Dragon Flame huffs a snort. Don't deny it. Denial is useless. I will never forget your energy signature. Seeing how insistent the old fellow was, Bai Yen could only give up and pucker her own lips in disagreement, leaning against the chair in a lazy manner. All right, you two can go back to your rooms and rest. There's nothing happening right now, so you two can do as you please. Dragon Flame left without any struggle, but Half Ching Sing on the other hand was another matter. The snake practically stomped her entire way out the room like an angry child throwing a tantrum. Ning Yuan and his daughter's scheme for. Back over in the main lobby of this inn, Ningyu the petite girl was still standing at the same spot, like she's lost in thought due to the encounter. Just then, a hand suddenly came from the rear and dragged her away to a corner before she could scream. What are you trying to do? The girl snaps around after breaking free and was about to lash out when she saw who it was. Pa, what are you doing here? Don't talk, come with me first. Ning Yuan carefully scanned their surroundings and led the way to a secluded alleyway. Once he was sure no one was peeking, immediately, beads of sweat came pouring out of the man's now pale face. Pa, you're hurt? Ningyu whispers this with urgency. Did those from the Celestial Palace do this? Ning Yuan didn't answer his daughter's question, and instead grabbed onto her shoulder, his voice solemn. You asked me before about whether or not your Auntie Ning has a daughter or not. I can tell you now that she does. And that daughter is now knocking on our doors. Ning Yu's face froze up, her hands clenched into a tight ball over her father's words. The woman you're talking about, is she a pregnant woman with a very similar look to Auntie Ning's? Showing surprise on his pale face. How did you know that? Ning Yu draws a sneer around her mouth as she spoke. That's because the woman you mentioned is already by Auntie Ning's side right this instant. She's also been taken as a goddaughter by Auntie Ning. Pa! I worked for so many years trying to get that title, and now it's been stolen away by some bitch who came out of nowhere. In this petite girl's view, only she was qualified to be Bai Ning's daughter. One for the long years of loyalty and persistence, the other granted by the fact that she's been by the lady's side since she was but a baby. There's no way she would relent to a biological daughter that abandoned her Auntie Ning. That slut is only coming to find Auntie Ning because she saw how strong she has become. What a shameless bitch. I will not let her have her way. Flashing with an idea in his eyes, Ning Yuan immediately got the gist of the situation and followed up with a plan. Your belief is correct. I met that woman earlier and inadvertently revealed Ninger's strength to her. That's why she's trying so hard to get close to your Auntie Ning. It's because of Ninger's strength. They only want her because of that. Originally, Ning Yu's comments and hateful thoughts were only speculations on her own part. There's no real evidence to back it up. However, this time it's different if her father was saying what she believed in as well. Immediately, A distorted look appeared on the petite girl's face. I just knew it. When I first laid eyes on her, I just knew she wasn't a good person. I can't let this go. I must go tell Auntie Ning the truth. Wait. Seeing how his daughter's about to leave, Ning Yuan hurriedly caught the girl by the shoulder again. Frowning, Ninger doesn't know the woman is her own biological daughter yet. Daughter, you need to think this through. Do you believe your Auntie Ning will believe your words about a child harming their parents? Stopping in her feet now after that reminder, a frustrated and vicious light appeared on the girl's face as she stood there, awaiting the next words to come. You know it as well. Your Auntie Ning may have been abandoned by her family years ago, but she still longed for them to come retrieve her. If you tell her that evil woman is her biological daughter, what do you think she would do? The man continues to lead his daughter down a projected train of thought with his words. Ning Yuan and his daughter's scheme 5. Ning Yu's face had turned stiff as she closed her own eyes to remember why she's doing this again. Then by the time she opened them again, the initial hesitation had dampened, but still there once the image of Bai Ning's face came up. Pa, you are right. Even if those people make a bigger mistake, Auntie Ning will still forgive them. Otherwise, why else would she continue to yearn for those wolves for all these years? I have to let Auntie Ning become disappointed in that woman. I will save her. Good child. Full of gentle love in his voice, Ning Yuan's smile looked like he's doing something great and kind despite the cruel nature of what's trying to pull. I will need you to help me with something, okay? What's is it? Ning Yu asks with willingness in her voice. As long as it's to help take down Auntie Ning's daughter, then I'm willing to do anything. I have here a poison. You will go sneak this to that woman and get her to eat it. She will die for sure afterwards. Poison. Stunned for a second, Ning Yu silently stares down at the green beady little thing in her father's hand, slightly panicking in her voice. Pa, what if Auntie Ning finds out about this? If she finds out, then she will hate me for sure. You know it as well, Pa. I never had a mother since I was born. I can't afford to have her hate me. She was indeed very willing to deal with the likes of Bai Yan and her brats, but that's only to the extent of shaming them with misunderstanding and misunderstanding. That way they would leave on their own, and she herself not taking any risk. Now she's supposed to put her head on the line? Unsure and not knowing what to do, the girl tries to deflect the idea. Pa, I don't think this is the way to go. What if they find out? How about I lure her outside, and you kill her instead? Now it was the scum's turn to go stiff in the face over the proposal. It's true in his opinion Bai Yan wasn't as strong as him in person, but there are too many capable talents around the lady. Take his injuries here for example, it was done in by that group. Now his daughter wants him to attack the woman instead? As if he had the guts. Making a couple of dry coughs to ready his excuse. Daughter, you need not be afraid. There's no way your Auntie Ning would dislike you. No matter what you do, you will always be her favorite person. She's only momentarily tricked by those people. Once that woman dies, then she will naturally recover and return to us. In the end, under the constant pressuring of her father, Ning Yu nervously retrieves the green pill into her own hand. Pa, I understand. I will do as you say. Good child. A soft luster filled the man's face over the success. Don't worry. Once that evil wolf of a daughter is dead, no one will ever try to fight you for Ninger's attention. Perhaps it's the fear of being caught, or the fear of actually killing someone for the first time. But it took a very long time before the petite girl could take the first step into the inn, after leaving her old man in the alleyway. Ewer. From out of the blue, a faint feministic sound came down from the second floor, causing the already agitated Ning Yu to jerk upwards in fright due to being startled. Bai Ning was walking down the stairways when she saw this, and she immediately picked up on the odd behavior. What's the matter, Ewer? No, nothing. Tightly biting her own lips, the petite girl couldn't keep calm as sweat filled her forehead. I only got scared a little, it's nothing. Ning Yuan and his daughter's scheme 6. That's so. Bai Ning remained suspicious on the face, but didn't dive deeper upon realizing the girl didn't want to give any more details. Ewer, although I couldn't take you to be my own daughter, but I've always looked to you as a niece. If you ever come across any trouble, Do come tell me. You don't have to keep it to yourself and handle it alone. Shaking her head, Ningyu spoke with a more relaxed pose after that. Don't worry, Auntie Ning, I am really fine. I'm relieved then if that's the case. Despite those words, Bai Ning's forehead remains a tight knot. She doesn't know why either, but the lady just got this strange feeling that the child whom she helped raise since young has changed in some ways. Watching the departing back of her Auntie Ning, the petite girl finally released the breath she had unknowingly been holding. Her back's been soaked due to all the pressure of almost being caught by this point, and her palm a bloody mess due to how hard she's been gripping the poisonous bead. In the end, Ningyu only shot a final glance towards Bai Yan's room before she too returned to her own, and this time, she didn't keep the poison out in the open. Instead, she hid it well away, so there's no chance for others to accidentally come across it. Tapping the table in her room after some more thought. Pa's plan is too dangerous and risky in the end. I can't do it. Although Auntie Ning pampers me, but I can tell she's extremely fond of that brat, and will go a long way for him. If she ever finds out I tried to poison them, then she will never let me go. Even though the urge to remove that woman was still there, but Ningyu could say for certain to herself, she doesn't have the guts to murder someone yet. Therefore, the only method for this girl was to use alternative methods. Bai Yan, Auntie Ning is mine, and if you dare rob her from me then I won't spare you. Punching the table, the girl's aura was all cold and sinister as she walked out the door and disappeared from the inn. Next day, the morning light was just right at this timing, allowing the beams of brightness to shine through the window and onto Bai Yan's beautiful face. Faintly opening her eyes over the glimmer, she eventually noticed the two cuddly kittens snuggling against her arm. Pleased by this warm picture, she pulls them closer for further snuggles to only disturb the boy who's still asleep. Mother! Awakened by the movement, Bai Xiachen mutters this as he rubbed his dozy eyes. Me and Dragoni wanted to snuggle with you, so we came on our own. You wouldn't be mad, right? Did we end up squeezing the baby in your belly? If she's hurt then I'm going to be distressed. Aching over how sensible the boy was, Bai Yan throws a smile of reassurance over to stop his wild thoughts. Silly, why would you think your little sister is that fragile? Don't worry, she's sleeping with her brother and sister is a good thing. I'm sure she is very happy. Really? Twinkling with bright stars in his little eyes. Does that mean little sister likes me? Yes, of course she does, she likes both of you. Bai Yan's voice right now was bordering on the line of a lullaby, making the boy all the more happy and trustful. Mother, I also like my little sister, but in my eye you are still the most important. Mother will always be first. Snuggling his head closer to the woman's chest, he didn't hide the lovely smile he had when pushing against those wonderful jugs. Ningyu's plan 1. By now Dragoni had always been awakened by their conversation. Blinking her big innocent eyes. Mother, I also want to take care of our little sister with Gidge. Okay, when your sister is born, you too will be in charge of her care. How lucky am I to have such a wonderful and well-behaved son, along with this sweet and lovely adopted daughter. These two children, sometimes they really make my heart ache due to how sensible they are. Suddenly, loud ruckus caught the lady's attention from the outside. Originally she didn't want to get involved, but that sound only grew bigger and bigger, which made her face furrow up. Mother! Bai Xiachen clings onto his mother's hand and stared at the doors. What's going on out there? Wait here for me with your sister. I'll be right back after I go see. After giving this instruction, she then went ahead to get up from bed and head outside. Main lobby of the inn. By the time Bai Yan made it downstairs, the ruckus had mostly drawn a crowd to the scene, and that's what she walked into. There's a middle-aged madam currently shouting her lungs out at Bai Ning, who couldn't make a peep in return, only standing there flushed and embarrassed. Mother, what's going on here? But before an answer could come out to answer the question, the dirty-looking madam suddenly rushed over, trying to grab hold of Bai Yan's arm. Scram! A loud roar exploded out of her throat, sending the stranger several meters away and falling to the ground. This powerful reaction absolutely stunned the dirty-looking madam, leaving her choked for words and looking over to Ningyu for instructions. Honestly, The madam never expected her target to be so grumpy and temperamental. That's not what she was told. Nevertheless, money was money. Since she's taken the money, then it's only right she continued to act. After a quick struggle to get up, she angrily points her finger at Bai Yan's face like she's suffering some great grievance. Of course, the stranger made sure to keep some distance from Bai Yan. That fall didn't just make a scratch. It left quite a bruise on her, but also, "You little thing. Did you think I wouldn't recognize you just because you took a cosmetic Dan pill? Don't forget, that pill was given to you by me." Cosmetic Dan pill? A bit taken aback by that accusation, Bai Yan had to take a good second to take that in. Huh. When did I change my face? You are. Originally she wanted to ask if the madam's mistaken her for someone else, but before a word could come out of her tongue, the madam began to shoot out slurs and curses after curses. "You stinking girl. I am your mother. You won't even recognize your own mother now." Like a thunderbolt, Bai Yan's face became dumbfounded. She just couldn't believe what she's hearing. When did I have a mother? And, narrowing her eyes into a slit, Bai Yan didn't miss the constant exchange of signals between the madam and Ningyu. That's when she got it. Raising a smirk, "You say you are my mother, what evidence do you have?" The middle-aged madam stared angrily at being called a liar. "Your face, it's just like hers, that's the greatest evidence. You two have no blood relationship, so why do you look so similar to her then? Obviously it's because you took a cosmetic Dan pill to change your face." Even more people had gathered into the crowd by this point. Therefore when they heard this claim, all eyes were locked onto Bai Yan with contempt in there. Ningyu's plan too. In their eyes, a person who doesn't even recognize their own mother was as bad as it comes for a scumbag. Finding support from the masses, the middle-aged madam that looked both dirty and haggard became more full of herself, puffing up her chest. "Those like you who only recognize a godmother and forget their own real mother is going to face retribution if you don't change your ways." After throwing that out there, the stranger then turns to glare at Bai Ning. "And you, are you blind or what? Do you think just because she's similar to you in appearance that it's fate? Only a fool would think such a thing is coincidental." Bai Ning's eyes gradually turned cold after that outburst. "And you think it's not? Of course not. A while back I inadvertently came across a cosmetic Dan pill. It can allow the user to change their face according to what they imagine upon us." Huffing deeply like she's exasperated by the memory, the madam borderline growled at Bai Yan's face. "Then this girl. She somehow got wind of you and the forces under your control. She wanted to become your daughter. That's why she stole the pill from underneath my eye. The purpose is to take control of your powers." Bai Ning didn't reply to that, nor did Bai Yan in this case. It's just that, while Bai Yan herself didn't speak to defend herself, those hands had involuntarily clenched into a tight ball with sweat covering it. She could honestly say she's never been afraid in this lifetime, even during her time alone. However, this time she's obviously feeling panic inside. For one thing, the lady herself had plenty of methods to prove herself innocent. But that's not the issue here. What if her real mother Bai Ning doesn't believe her? What would Bai Yan do then? It's torture, plain and simple, pure torture. Fully understanding it's her time to shine, Ningyu steps forward like an indignant daughter trying to protect her own mother. "Don't say that about my Auntie Ning. She's a kind-hearted woman who has a big heart and would believe anyone if they are true to her. She has nothing to do with this matter. If you say another sentence about my Auntie Ning, then I won't let you go." The middle-aged madam obviously got the signal and knew it's time to move on to the second phase of their plan. Softening up in her voice towards Bai Ning, "You really are a foolish one. You got such a nice girl here, and you don't cherish. Instead you turn your kindness towards a wolf who would abandon their own mother. I ask you, what sort of sincerity could such a person have towards you?" The onlookers also seemed to feel the same way after hearing that logic. Immediately, nods were shared among the crowd. That's right. A person who would change their own face just to recognize an adopted mother and ignore their real one couldn't be a good individual. This girl really can't be judged by her face. Oh wait, that's not her real one. I know, right? I think the smaller girl over there is quite nice. She knows how to protect their loved ones. A daughter should be like that. Taking this chance, Ningyu dropped her face downwards in a dejected manner, similar to an innocent someone suffering due to the circumstances. It's only right for a daughter to be their mother's intimate little cotton wool. Even if Auntie Ning won't consider me her biological daughter, I have long taken her as mine. I never had a mother since I was young, so my feelings towards her are pure, unlike others who came with ulterior motives. After saying that, Ningyu's eyes had turned red when glaring at Bai Yan, the anger and hatred unconcealed and upfront. Ningyu's Plan 3. Bai Yan's gaze met with Bai Ning's then. In that moment, she could feel her heart sinking due to the darkening expression in her mother's face. She doesn't believe me? Growing bittersweet on the face over the thought. Perhaps me not telling her about Ning Yuan is the right choice. After all, compared to them who has stayed with her all these years, I am still just a stranger. Suddenly, a hand gentle lands onto Bai Yan's shoulder, causing her to stiffen up and look up. Ningyu's touch of had anger disappeared following that gesture, replaced only by the look of dismay and surprise over her Auntie Ning's behavior. You think I favor this girl, just because of her face being similar to me? Bai Ning spoke mildly like the whole thing didn't affect her in the least. That's not true. I like her because she gives me a very comfortable feeling like someone I know in the past, and not because of her face. Ningyu's heart trembled at that, pursing her lip until blood's almost seeping out. But Auntie Ning, her biological mother, is already knocking at the door. I'm only saying that because I'm afraid of you being deceived by her. Biological mother? Bai Ning said it with such sarcasm that it's vicious sounding. Turning to the madam in question, you say you are her real mother. Where's your evidence? Do you have some sort of method to prove your blood relationship with my goddaughter? How about we test the matter by mixing your bloods and see? Humph. I'm not going to believe some random stranger's claim, just because they say so. Towards the seething glare of the woman's eye, the impersonating madam instinctively cowered and fell into a panic. She was only instructed to act out the role, and never given any proof to make the case. What's more, testing the issue by mixing their blood would be a dead giveaway. Gritting the teeth, the madam knew she had to get unreasonable to get through this. Mixing our blood can't prove anything. That pill doesn't just change the appearance, it also changes her body's makeup. Also, I have no enmity with her. Why would I frame her? What benefit do I gain? The logic brought on another wave of agreeing nods from the crowd. Though it's not a common occurrence to change one's body makeup with a medicinal ingredient, but there has been recorded cases in the past history books. Therefore, the liability of proof now falls back onto Bai Yan's lap. Despite this fact, Bai Ning didn't budge, and reached down with her hands to hold onto her nervous daughter's hand. The act brought warmth to Bai Yan's heart, and she never felt so protected before. Genuinely smiling, Bai Yan now has the courage to step up. Mother, I can handle this matter myself. Thank you for believing in me. I will be sure to give you satisfactory answer. For her own sake, and her mother here. This lady who has never known to be the receiver of motherly love, has finally awakened to the bond. You said I'm conniving after my mother's power? The middle-aged madam swiftly nodded. That's right, you are after her strength. Oh, in that case, why don't you tell me the so-called powers behind her? I'm curious and want to know. Crossing her arms, her stance was casual and strong. The demand forced the madam back again. Going slightly white in the face, the impostor had to thank Ningyu for conceiving this scenario ahead of time. This woman is able to call upon a demonic beast wielding strength superior to that of a high divine. That's why you are trying so hard to get close to her. You want to control that creature. Ningyu's plan for enlightenment seems to dawn on Bai Yan's face after that verbal exchange. Gleaming with light in her eyes, everything simply clicked into place. No wonder Ning Yuan and his daughter would try to drive me away so much. Perhaps that man does like my mother from the hearts down. But this girl Ningyu though, why is she so obsessed with someone that's not her real biological mother? It just doesn't make sense, especially to this extent, where she would resist anyone getting close. Perhaps it's due to that demonic beasts. Sure enough, Ningyu's heart fell into a fluster over the look she's receiving from Bai Yan. Did this slut discover something? No, she can't. Even Pa doesn't know about my secret. How did this slut see through to my thoughts? So that's why. Mother, where's that demonic beast of yours? Bai Yan asks her mother with a smiling face, blinking her eyes at the question. He's currently injured right now and is resting in his lair. Yenner, do you want to meet him? If you do, then I can take you to him. Ningyu's fist once again clenched up with her chest tightening from suffocation. It couldn't be helped. She's infuriated at the moment due to what Bai Ning said there. In the past, she has repeatedly asked to go meet that demonic beast, and was refused time and time again due to the eccentric nature of that creature. But there's no way this petite girl would take that lying down considering her character, of course. That's why she secretly snuck along during one of Bai Ning's outing and learned of an amazing secret. Due to the lady's refusal to accept servitude from the creature, because of how much she cherishes him from saving her life, the demonic beast nevertheless insisted on returning the debt and promised to become the familiar of Bai Ning's daughter. Of course, the emotional attachment Ningyu had for her Auntie Ning was very real too. But compounding that emotion with the benefits of controlling an incredibly powerful creature was a huge boon. That's more than enough reason for the petite girl to become possessive and territorial. And this secret desire, well, let's say the girl herself never divulged it to anyone, including her old man Ning Yuan. Okay, I will go back with you and meet that demonic beast. I can see where he's hurt, and perhaps help with his injury. Bai Yan then returns her attention to the middle-aged madam with a sneer. But first I need to deal with this matter here. What are you planning to do? The madam stumbles back a few steps again. You claim to be my mother, so you should know me very well, right? Shuddering inside, the madam stutters her response over the worsening situation. How would I know? You even know about my mother's demonic beast. What wouldn't you know? Let me take a guess on what your next words are. The 2 guards I brought along. They're also given to me by you, correct? After all, my ability is so poor, so it's normal to expect that. Am I right again? The madam gulped, shaking in her reply now. Well, of course. They got turned by you because you sold your body to the old one and deceived the maid I gave to you. Ningyu's Plan 5. The part about Bai Yan having these 2 escorts have already been divulged to the madam through Ningyu's mouth, hence her smooth retort just now. However, that was the trap itself, and this middle-aged woman fell directly into it. Breaking out into a chuckle, Bai Yan lays it out. This auntie, I only want to know one thing. How can you make my people submit to you considering your strength? Answer that. Nervous in her voice over how confident the other side was, the madam carefully made her stance. It's just 2 escorting guards. Why can't I make them submit? I can still afford to pay them even in my state. Smirking in response, Bai Yan knew it's time she stopped messing around. Dragony Flame, half Ching Sing, why don't you 2 come out now? Swoosh! After the lady said that, a massive outflux of wind blew downwards from the 2nd floor, due to the powerful force coming off of the 2 monsters. By the time everyone looked up, Bai Yan's so-called escorts had already jumped over the rails from the upper venue and onto the main lobby, their gaze dark and menacing towards the madam. For one thing, the pair wouldn't have cared much if the problem revolved only around their supposed mistress. After all, they only became Bai Yan's familiar due to being tricked. However, what the madam there shouldn't have said was that last bit about controlling them. Nothing but a dirty-looking middle-aged woman at the middle divine level. That's a far cry from their own strength in reality. It's insulting to be degraded by someone so inferior. Against the oppressive aura coming off of the 2 new entries, the madam reacted just like expected and faltered backwards. Didn't Ningyu say these 2 are only weak servants that can't pose a threat? Why are they so scary? Bai Ning was the first to speak out after recognizing how strong the old goat and snake was. The lady's strength may be at the bottom divine level, but this elder here is already at the peak level of the high divine stage. Incredible. Boom. Without surprise, the explanation sent a shockwave among the onlookers, who quickly flew into an explosive gasp of awe and shock. High divine? She actually has a high divine individual acting as her escort? Doesn't that testify to the incredible background of this young lady? In that case, why should she need to use such means to acquire the help of a demonic beast that might or might not compare in strength? More importantly, how can this madam here subdue someone so much stronger than herself? That's just ridiculous. Unbeknownst to everyone else, Bai Ning had kept one key factor inside without saying it aloud, and that was these two are both demonic beasts. In the celestial realm, it's a well-known fact that any demons or demonic beasts are firmly suppressed, especially the stronger ones. If those in power become aware of these monsters, hordes of greedy individuals would surely come and try to steal them away and use them as their own familiars instead. And if not, well, naturally the two would be destroyed in the end. Neither ending was something Bai Ning wished upon her goddaughter here. Now the ball was thrown way back to the dirty-looking madam, which made the woman promptly turn to seek help from her employer. Unfortunately for this imposter though, Ningyu was done with her at this point, and threw a punch into her stomach before the madam could utter a word. How dare you frame my sister Bai Yen? You nearly made me misunderstand her. You truly deserve to be punished for this. The petite girl's face appeared seething with anger, which quickly evolved into a look of murderous intent. Understanding what's about to happen, the madam flinched and stared in horror. She knows Ningyu intends to kill her at this point, and silence the issue since things has come this far. Ningyu's Plan 6. In a moment of desperation, the bleakly white-faced madam actually lunged into a crawl for Bai Ning's leg when she realized what's going to happen to herself. However, before she could even make it a few knees forward, Ningyu had come down again with another punch and sent her body flying. Blood now kept pouring out of her mouth as horror gripped the madam's face. Now you're trying to harm my Auntie Ning? Ningyu grabbed onto her accomplice's collar and snapped out. If you try anything then I will not let your entire family go. There's a reason she emphasized the family word because the madam immediately flew into a bigger panic and understood the underlying threat inside that sentence. If I dare reveal she's the one who instructed me to do all this then my entire family will suffer. And my son who's in her hand will also die. Miss, please spare me. I know I am wrong. I mistook you for someone else. The madam hurriedly changed her tune and squeezed this out towards Bai Yen. Bai Yen naturally didn't believe a single word there. Squinting her eyes, she shifts her attention from the woman, who's obviously being blackmailed in some way, to the petite girl instead. Smirking as she spoke. Mistook me for another person? You even knew about my mother's demonic beast, so how do you explain that? Ningyu's face went pale in that instant, knowing the sentence was meant for herself. I just knew this woman wouldn't be so easily blindsided. I should have listened to Pa and done what he asked to poison this slut. Now Auntie Ning will distrust me even if I wiggle out of this mess. Sure enough, Bai Ning's brow began to furrow up after listening to Bai Yan's logic, because there's only a couple of people who even knew of that demonic beast under her care. Specifically, the main two suspects are Ning Yuan and his daughter Ningyu. Aside from those two, she couldn't really think of anyone else. Suddenly, a dreaded idea popped into the woman's head, causing Bai Ning to tremble in disbelief and fear of the truth. It's not like this lady was a soft-hearted woman. Rather, Ningyu's a child. She personally oversaw her growth. To find out that the young baby has grown up to be an evil villain at heart, why wouldn't she be hurt and traumatized? No, you are wrong. The madam shakes her head and continues to force her own story. Everything I did was on purpose. In that moment, a flash of determination filled the imposter's eye, like she's come to terms with her own fate. You believe no one knows about your demonic beast? You're wrong. I've long known about it. The reason I want this woman to leave is because I wanted my daughter to take her place. I knew that's the only way to trick you. Despite the self-righteous expression on the madam's face, her true feelings were quite different. It's fear and panic, sprinkled in with a bit of hatred now towards everyone here. Like a cornered rat, when there's no room for escape, then a prey would also grow fangs. That's the reasoning for the hatred. But a mother would always be a mother. When her baby boy's life was in the hands of a vile girl like Ningyu, the madam could only suppress the urge to fight and bear the crime. Bai Ning didn't respond to that, only staying silent for a long while before turning to her so-called niece. Seeking one's own death 1. Does this matter have something to do with you? Bai Ning's voice sounded heavy, which rattled the girl greatly. Why would you ask that, Auntie Ning? What does this have to do with me? Alright, I only hope that's the case. If I find out you are behind this incident, then I won't let you off even if I'm the one who watched you grow. Due to the warning tone used there, Ning Yu's jealousy only grew in kind. Auntie Ning, I would never do such a thing. I only hope that's the case. Bai Ning gives a nod, then gradually shifting her attention back to the madam. So you are not afraid of death? Not afraid of death? Of course not. How's that possible? In fact, the dirty-looking madam has long been shaking in the legs due to fear. She wished she could confess the truth but couldn't. Gritting those teeth. So what if I'm afraid? Will you not kill me if I say yes? Tell me who's directing you, then I will spare your life, otherwise. Mixed in her usual voice now was a chilling note, indicating Bai Ning meant exactly what she said there about the consequences. Going white in the face over that threat. Then you might as well just kill me. The madam wasn't some heartless, ruthless killer like Ning Yu and her father. Compared to dragging her own family and son into this mess further, the woman would rather die alone in this case, and spare her own loved ones. If you're not afraid of death, then how about not being to die despite wanting to die? Bai Ning continues to lead the conversation down a path she knew would strike fear. Not being able to die despite wanting to die. The middle-aged madam widens her eyes in shock. What do you mean by that? The meaning is very simple. Since you don't want to give out the mastermind, then, why don't I let you experience what it means to be pierced by 1,000 knives? Staring down at her prey with a devilish smirk, Bai Ning's aura was bone-chilling. A testimony to her true character when confronting an enemy. Unable to die. Pain of 1,000 knives? This woman can be that cruel? Auntie Ning. Ning Yu quivered and cuts in. She's afraid of the dirty-looking madam spilling the beans, due to fear at this moment. Isn't that too cruel? Although she did frame Sister Bai Yen, but I believe having her pay with her life is enough. Being unable to die, but can't is much too cruel of a fate for the crime she committed. Unmoved on the face, Bai Ning turns to face the girl, which sent shudders down Ning Yu's heart, and made her stop. That's not a face Ning Yu has ever seen, and it's left her speechless. Are you sure you want to sacrifice yourself for that mastermind? Bai Ning asks again after shutting the annoyance down. The repeated asking did make the madam waver somewhat. But at the thought of her own son for the second time already, the madam knew she couldn't. All of this is done and orchestrated by me and me alone. There's no other people involved. Getting nowhere with her interrogation techniques. Bai Ning was about to get serious and draw her blade when Bai Yen stopped her with a raised hand. Yenna, what's the matter? She asks with a puzzled look. Mother, I said I'll take care of this. You just need to wait for me. I will make her talk. Seeking one's own death too. In Bai Yan's view, she only needs her mother Bai Ning's recognition and belief. As for everyone else's here, it doesn't matter to her. In this life, she never wants to experience the taste of losing a loved one again. Okay. Bai Ning draws a faint smile and retreated to the back, allowing her daughter to take the lead in this matter. Just now you said everything you did is for the sake of your own daughter, correct? Bai Yen asks with an unreadable face. Unsure of what's going to transpire, the madam nevertheless steeled herself and answered. Yes. Very well. Why don't you ask your daughter to come out then? I would love to see how amazing that cosmetic Dan pill is since you keep bragging about its effect. The madam knew this lady was hard to deal with already, but she didn't expect Bai Yen to be this difficult. Where was she supposed to find a daughter to prove the case? My daughter left home for a while already. She's no longer with me, nor can I get in touch with her on such short notice. Oh, acting like she's enlightened to the fact. A damning light flickered within Bai Yan's eye. In that case, I have here poisonous pill you can take. It will cause all those with a blood relationship to you be affected as well once consumed, meaning she and you will both be poisoned. Trembling in horror, the madam falters backward to get away from that object. What did you just say? The poison will affect anyone who's related to me by blood if I take that? By this point Bai Yan has had to hand it to Ningyu in finding someone so resilient. The madam's obviously panicking and afraid, yet she's still able to make her words clear and not have a mental breakdown. You also said it yourself. You wanted your daughter to take on the appearance of my mother. As someone that's naturally blind, what if I mistakenly take your daughter as my mother someday? Wouldn't that be embarrassing? So in order to remove that problematic issue, it's best to have your daughter die with you instead. Shrugging like it's nothing serious, Bai Yan puts on a nonchalant face and left the other side stiff as a rock. Blind? Recognize the wrong person? You might as well say you're going after my non-existent daughter instead. Why make such excuses? White in the face. Does such poison really exist? Why don't you give it a try and see for yourself? Taking a step forward, Bai Yan pushes a black-looking pill forward. Frantically getting up from the floor after finding how nauseating the smell was from the bead, the madam cries out. No, I don't want to take that poison. I don't want to harm my son. I'll speak. I'll tell you everything. Please don't harm my son. Ningyu was already dumbfounded due to Bai Yan's explanation. Now she's also flying into a panic over the madam's confession. It's only a poison. Everything would be finished if you just eat it. A person like you deserves to die. After saying this, Ningyu attempts to snatch away the poison so that she could force it down the madam's throat. However, Bai Yan already expected that and retreated in kind, so the item remains out of reach. You bitch, framing my sister Bai Yan is the worst. I'm going to kill you. Bang! Her palm strike carried the rage she felt inwardly, so it was incredibly violent once it landed onto the madam's chest. Ningyu, stop! Bai Ning snaps out, outraged at the girl's intent to kill. Unfortunately, the order was futile because Ningyu swung out anyways, and with the evil smirk as well. Seeking one's own death 3. Yet just as she's about to make the killing blow, an old figure promptly got in between her and the madam. Bang! Following that loud impacting noise, Dragon Flame lands a heavy blow onto Ningyu's chest, sending her flying out several feet away until she slams into a wall. PFFFF. Twisted in the face, the girl kept puking blood as a result while staring death glares at her target still. Understanding this was her chance, the madam cries out. It is she. She is the one who asked me to impersonate your mother. She wanted to drive you away from this woman. I only promised to do this because she offered me a lot of valuable things. But please spare my son. He is innocent. Badump. Taking to her knees, the middle-aged madam didn't try to twist the story anymore and spilled everything. Why didn't you expose her just now? Happily placing the bead away, Bai Yan no longer needed it. A flash of panic appeared in the madam's eye then. Her father is still out there. If anything happens to the girl, her father will murder my entire family. I don't want my son to die. That's why I didn't out her earlier. Please forgive me. I never did anything that's truly damning here, right? Bai Yan couldn't hold back her scoffing sneer then, because that's far from the truth. Didn't do much? If my mother didn't trust me so much, wouldn't that mean I'm screwed instead? Collapsing to the ground with strength leaving her body, the madam truly regrets it right now. Please, at least let me son go. I only ask you not hurt my family. Fine, I won't hurt them, but I will make them lose their memories of you. Afterwards, they will never remember you again. Despite the pain hovering in the madam's eye, she knew this was the greatest mercy she's going to get in this case. Yenner, that poisonous pill in your possession really is that effective? Bai Ning comes in and asks, her eyes staring constantly at the spot where it's being stored. If I feed that to my enemy's son, will my enemy also be poisoned? Gawking in the face. Mother, I only tricked her just now. How can there be such a poison in this world? Bai Ning just stood there stunned, just like the madam who's dumbfounded on the floor. However, both women paled in comparison to the shock exploding out of Ningyu's eyes, who kept staring straight towards the lady, who deceived everyone. What did she just say? She was lying earlier? Scratching her nose at the added attention, Bai Yan felt embarrassed for some reason. Mother, you didn't really believe me just now, right? Bai Ning literally twitched in the corner of her mouth, because she didn't know to respond to her daughter. Seriously, who would have thought that such an honest-looking lady would be able to lie so thoroughly? You were lying to me? The madam stutters this out, her finger pointing and shaking from disbelief. I actually exposed Ningyu because of a lie? Grinning mischievously. If I didn't do that, would you have revealed the mastermind? This is called tactics, you understand? If you want to blame someone, then blame yourself for being so gullible. Sure enough, Bai Yan's statement left the madam more despairing than ever. Ningyu too. The girl's also unable to process all of the information and just stared at Bai Yan's face. Then once Bai Ning turned to look at her, the petite girl finally came back to her senses and pounced at the lady's leg. Seeking one's own death for. Auntie Ning, this is not me, really not me. This person is framing me, you have to believe me. Bai Ning frowned at that. How do you want me to believe you? Aside from you who knows about the powers in my hand, there's only your father as the other. Are you implying he's the one who betrayed me? Auntie Ning. Letting her hand go, Ningyu slowly looks up and was met with that cold hard face. There's no longer any kindness in those eyes that she has come to know. Ningyu, you really let me down this time. How did I educate you? I wanted you to be a frank person, and this is the sort of behavior you used to repay me? Replacing that anger in the woman's face now was disappointment. Although she had long known that Ningyu might not be what she presumes to be on the outside. Nevertheless, Bai Ning still regarded this petite girl as some sort of child in her own eyes. Throwing tantrums and personalities around due to puberty was expected. However, this was far beyond what she imagined. Making a smile like the soul has left her body, Ningyu slowly rose from the ground, pain and despair showing all over her existence. Yes, you raised and educated me to be a frank person since young. But what have you done in retrospect? Over the years I've treated and looked towards you as my real mother, but you always treated me as someone else, a replacement. I'm a substitute for your daughter. That's what you were using me for. Do you know how much it hurts me inside because of that? Tears filled those saddened eyes as the pained fluid covered the girl's face. Imagine being second fiddle to a daughter that never once showed herself. That's mentally damaging for any child. In this case, the petite girl may be vicious and cruel as well in nature. But she does have a point in not wanting to share her motherly figure. This was especially true when it came to Bai Yan and her children. It's far beyond the level of love she herself got. And that made Ningyu go crazy. That's why you did it. Bai Ning asks with a long sigh, shaking her head in a bittersweet manner. Auntie Ning, I am so good to you. And my father only has you in his heart. Why do you hide so many things from us? Like that demonic beast. He once said he will return the debt by becoming your daughter's familiar after your rejection. Is that why you refuse to take me as your daughter? You want to reserve that creature for your real daughter? Dropping her mouth into an oval shape, Bai Ning couldn't believe what she was hearing. Half a minute later, she issues a helpless sigh and said, I did not accept you as my daughter because I subconsciously know I have a daughter. Since I already have a daughter of my own, how can I take someone else's child? As for the matter with my demonic beast, you're overthinking it. I never intended to have him pledge loyalty to anyone. Clenching her fist until it's shaking, Ningyu uses her bloodshot eyes to stare dead into the woman's eye. Okay, ignoring the demonic beast, why can't you take me as your daughter? I kept you company for all these years. I should have every right to that title than someone who abandoned you. Which part of me you don't like? I promise I will change. Abandoned you? This sentence left Bai Yin sharpening in the eye, as she glared over to the petite girl. You never seen her family before, so how do you know she was abandoned by them? In my opinion, the only reason they haven't found mother is because someone is interfering with malice thoughts, and prevented her memories from returning. Seeking one's own death 5. You're talking nonsense. Ningyu snaps back at Bai Yin with her vicious glare. In the lass's view, it's all because of this woman with that similar face that all of this happened. It's all her fault. Auntie Ning's relatives doesn't deserve to call themselves her family. They abandoned her. And now they want her back because they found out about her powers? What kind of logic is that in this world? Scoffing a sarcastic sneer, Ningyu's eyes had transformed from jealousy to pure hatred. And how do you know her loved ones abandoned her? Bai Yin retorts. Of course I know. Ningyu clenched her hands until blood could be seen around the palm. If it wasn't for her loved ones abandoning her, then how could Auntie Ning still be alone after all these years? She may have lost her memories, but they didn't. There's no reason for them to not even bother searching. But what I didn't think possible is our importance in Auntie Ning's eye. We've kept her company for so many years, through thick and thin. Yet we still couldn't hold a candle to those heartless wolves that never gave her any warmth. Normally such words would be moving to the audience. But in this case, Bai Yin already knew the truth and couldn't resist holding back a snicker. Regardless, that mockery immediately earned her a cold hard glare from the petite girl. And I also know her heartless daughter only came back because of her change in strength. Ha ha ha. If I were Auntie Ning, I would never recognize such a daughter again. Ningyu's appearance and laugh bordered on the edge of madness. Auntie Ning, me and my pa are so good to you. Why do you treat us like this? Is it because I'm not your biological daughter? Is that why? You know my pa only got together with my birth mother because she used underhanded methods to trick him. He only loves you. In Ningyu's view, her birth mother doesn't deserve to be her mother because of the woman's lowly status. A maid, and a dead one at that. There's no way a girl like her would accept such a origin. That's why she's pushing all her ideas onto Bai Ning. It's also to wash away the lowly status from her mother's blood. Frowning, Bai Ning eventually issues a long sigh again towards the crazed madness in the girl. I've been wrong from the very beginning. I shouldn't have given you too much love, and now that has caused your personality to become this twisted mess. I'm sorry. Towards Ningyu, Bai Ning could say for sure she's completely disappointed and lost all hope in saving her. That means the lady won't interfere regardless of what Bai Yin intends to do with the lass. No, that's not true. In a panic, Ningyu grasps onto the woman's sleeve. You're not wrong. If anyone is at fault, it's those so-called relatives of yours. They're all a bunch of wolves, yes, wolves. Bang! In the very next moment she blurted that out, a small little figure had rushed down from the second-floor balcony and punched the girl in the chest before anyone could react. Stumbling backwards as a small trickle of blood seeped through from the corner of her mouth, Ningyu glares hatefully at the small little steam bun responsible for the injury. Seeking one's own death. 6. You bad woman. Don't bully my mother and grandmother. If you dare continue, then I'm going to have Dragoni eat you. In saying this, the little steam bun allowed his ferocious side to come through. What did he just say? Did he just call me grandmother instead of pretty granny? Bai Ning had fallen into a daze upon hearing that outburst, her eyes in dismay over the angry appearance of the boy. What did you say? Ningyu hatefully reached out with both hands in a vain attempt to tear apart the cute little guy. However, before she could even draw close though, Dragon Flame's figure had already jumped in between her and the kid. Sensing the incredible and menacing aura coming off of this old fella, Ningyu instinctively cowered backwards in a panic. She knows full well trying to do anything in front of this opponent was a futile effort, so she could do nothing but glare at the boy and his mother in question. Ignoring the raging hate coming her way, Bai Yin acts like she didn't notice at all and ruffled her boy's hair as she spoke. Xiachen, didn't I tell you to wait for me in the room? Why did you come out? Losing that murderous look from his face over that kind voice, Bai Xiachen immediately dons a wrong child appearance as he hung his head low. I'm sorry, mother. I had wanted to endure the insults coming out of that bad woman's mouth, but I lost it when she started to call you a heartless wolf. She's clearly the heartless wolf here. Bai Ning's head exploded, leaving her brain a blank slate. Xiachen claims Ningyu called Yin'er a heartless wolf? But she was clearly calling my daughter that. How does it relate to Bai Yin? The lady was in no way a dumb person. She's perfectly capable of connecting the dots after being given all the hints. It's just that, well, when one has been disappointed for so many years, it's normal for them to be fearful of making a misunderstanding and being hurt again. On the contrary, those words were causing waves in the petite girl's mind as sweat poured out and resentment hovered in those eyes. It's just like Pa says. This slut is Auntie Ning's biological daughter. How dare she come now? It has always been me and Pa accompanying her. How dare this heartless wolf come steal the fruits of our labor? Mother. Turning to the side to make eye contact. Bai Yin wants to make sure there's no consequences for what she's about to do. Will you be distressed if I move against her? Startled at first over that question, Bai Ning took a good moment to think on the matter before responding. This is what she brought on herself. I won't complain to anyone if you do. She has already given her a chance. It's Ningyu who didn't cherish the opportunity, and instead did something irreparable. Auntie Ning. Ningyu felt truly scared now. Casting the bait 1. Ningyu's face froze as she stared at the woman whom she considered her own mother. There's grief, and there's pain. But most of all, she felt betrayed. I only made a small mistake. Why would Auntie Ning be unwilling to forgive me? Is it because of this woman? Ningyu's attention then shifts to Bai Yan's face. Jealous fire burning in those eyes like she's going to engulf the target in flame. Biting her lips. I know Auntie Ning is unwilling to forgive me because of you. She can't face you otherwise. But know this. It is I and my pa who accompanied her for all these years, not her family or relatives. Bai Yan didn't say nothing, only staring down at the kneeling girl in silence. Perhaps that silence emboldened her. But Ningyu kept going, and her tone was more confident than the last as well. They abandoned Auntie Ning, before, so why are they showing up suddenly? It would have been better if they never appeared. That last bit made Bai Yin narrow her eyes in, because she had caught onto something in her words. Ning Yuan knows I'm Bai Ning's real daughter, that's true. But why is this Ningyu also so certain? Based on my face alone can't prove anything unless these two have met prior to this gathering. Then that's when a plan hatches itself in the lady's mind once she thought up to here. Mother, in the end this Ningyu did stay with you for many years. For that, I will show mercy today and only throw her out. Afterwards, she and you will have no connection ever again. Bai Ning actually became surprised by the lenient judgment. Yena, you're not going to dispose of her? Showing a faint grin in order to not let the girl pick up on her scheme. It's fine, I can handle this. She can leave now. Bai Ning wanted to say more there, but when confronted with her daughter's reassuring smile, she ends up swallowing whatever words that's still in there. Alright, I won't get involved with this matter then. She then casts one final glance at the tearful-looking Ningyu and sighed. No matter what, Ningyu did accompany me for a long time. If you are going to do anything, I hope you can do it swiftly so she doesn't suffer. Ningyu's eyes dilated wide in horror, not daring to look up to Bai Ning as her lips trembled in disbelief. Auntie Ning. That's all the girl could mutter out while she sobbed and despaired under her own doing. Sadly for her, the lady didn't give another glance her way with those closed eyes, which only made the situation all the more painful. Seeing things have come to this point with no possible return, Ningyu slowly got up from the ground, her face bleak as a ghost. She naturally wanted to plead some more, but when confronted with the contemptible looks of all those around, she ends up walking for the outside instead to avoid those eyes. She let me down in the end. Bai Ning sighs after the petite figure went completely out of view. Perhaps the former Bai Ning would never have imagined she would turn her backs on the girl, due to her behavior. But she has, and she too must live with the outcome. It's painful, but she knows this was the right choice. Dragonflame, go follow her. Bai Yin didn't say anything aside from giving this order, which earned her a begrudging stare from the old goat, who unwillingly did as told. Now, due to the show being over, the crowds of onlookers also dispersed, leaving only Bai Ning and the rest. Casting the bait 2. Mother, why did you let her go? Bai Xiachen asks after tugging at his mother's sleeve. Rubbing the boy's head as a sign of reassurance, Bai Yen dons the familiar shallow smile of a scheming fox. We're using her as bait to lure out the big fish. Enlightened on his face, the little steambun blooms a lovely smile in return. I understand then, mother is so thoughtful. Cast the bait to catch the big fish. The exchange between this mother and son has left Dragony, who had also come down from the room all confused. blinking her big eyes. Mother, how come I can't understand what you and Gidge are saying? Are we going fishing? There's no need to go through that trouble. I can have those fish swim over to us instead. Thickening in her smile over that adorable comment, Bai Yin leans down to lift the little missy up. Don't worry, you will understand in the future. Oh, still not quite getting it. Dragoni nevertheless nodded her head like a good daughter that she was. Mother and Gidge is always right, I only need to listen. Meanwhile on the other side, Bai Ning has fallen into a contemplative state. Yin, are your intentions? She asks after thinking it through. Mother, there are some things you will only understand once your memories are restored, so I won't give you too much details. Restoring my memory? Quivering slightly in her posture, Bai Ning's eyes were full of excitement at that possibility. I can really restore my memories? I can remember my loved ones again? Bai Yin nodded affirmatively. I will find a way to restore your memories. Restoring a person's memory wasn't a difficult thing for her. She's only lacking the ingredients at the moment. Once she gets her hands on the necessary herbs and items, the task would be a piece of cake. Flushed red in the face over the wonderful future, Bai Ning had to take a good minute to calm herself as she spoke. Before Ning, you told me I lost my memories because I was both traumatized from being abandoned by my family and then severely injured. But I always felt like I wasn't, and that they are waiting for me somewhere. I know they must be looking for me still. My heart has always told me that. During her entire speech, Bai Ning's gaze never once left Bai Yan's face like she's anticipating some sort of answer. However, the expected verbal replies never came. Rather, it's a physical reply in the form of a hug. Don't worry, your loved ones never abandoned you, they all love you very much. Grandfather by Chang Feng never stopped thinking about mother after she disappeared, and uncle by Zhanpeng always searched for her everywhere as well despite his own illness. Both of them dearly wishes to reunite with her. And then there's father. He nearly lost his sanity because he yearned to be with mother after they separated. No matter, mother will know all this soon enough. Casting her eyes downward, Bai Ning's lips eventually drew a faint smile over those comforting words. I also believe they would never abandon me. The reason I kept pushing myself to grow stronger is because of that reason. It's to meet them one day. Yenner, do you know I've always had the same dream over and over again through all these years? In that dream, I was running around carrying a blood-soaked baby, and I remember the child's appearance. She was so cute, just like a doll, smooth and pearly white, totally different from those crumpled-up faces of other babies. Casting the bait 3. That's why I always suspected I had a daughter prior to my memory loss. And it's also the reason why I turned my feelings of that to Ningyu. Perhaps she also felt my emotions and reacted. That's why she's finding this so unfair, and did what she did. Bai Ning sighed at the thought. I've really made a mistake, and shouldn't have done what I did. Now that girl will suffer a hurt for a lifetime because of me. If only I had been a bit colder, not taken care of her so much, then perhaps her heart wouldn't have mistaken me for a mother. Yenner, all of this is my fault in the end. If you really want to take her life, I hope you can give her a swift death, and not make it painful, okay? Bai Yin mildly nodded towards that guilty expression. Okay, I promise you. Bai Ning's heart undoubtedly became relieved somewhat over that reassurance. I do not know whether it's my misconception or not, but I always felt very close to you and Xiachen. This kind of closeness is different from the type with Ningyu, who kept me company for many years. Perhaps, maybe, just maybe, you might be my missing daughter. Bai Yin instantly went stiff over that frankness, and almost blurted out the truth. Mother, am I not your daughter now? Xiachen is also your grandson. No matter what, she's intent on coming forward with the truth only after Bai Ning regains her past memories. Otherwise the possibility of things turning out wrong would be a real possibility. This wasn't just Bai Yin being overly cautious. Rather, it's from what she learned from the medical books she read about patients who were suddenly confronted with facts that they themselves would find suspicious and traumatic. Swish, swish, swish. Exactly then, a huge gust of wind blew in from the entrance, causing the windows and doors to flap and rattle non-stop. Bai Yin first pricked her brows at the sudden intrusion, but her puzzlement soon turned to surprise at the sight of an elderly individual who came in, followed closely by a huge number of demons littering the streets. Yenner! Bai Ning reacted immediately and cried out, shielding her daughter with her own body from the unknown demons. Who are you people? The elder acted like he didn't hear the lady's question, and made a bow to Bai Yin and her children. Queen Prince, His Majesty tasked me to come find you. He's been missing you dearly during your times of absence. Bang! From out of the blue without giving any warning, a swinging punch had come flying at the unsuspecting elder, and hit him dead in the stomach. Groaning from shock at being attacked, the senior's first reaction was to stare at his assailant. In that moment, his brain literally exploded in a flash. Who is this woman? Why is she so similar to Her Highness in appearance? And that expression, it's like, I'm some sort of great villain. This First Elder rigidly turns to Bai Yin in order to seek some sort of answer. Queen she is? Twitching in the corner of her mouth, the demon queen almost didn't know how to reply. She is my mother. Staring wide in astonishment, First Elder wanted to cry foul. Why is the queen's mother attacking me? Did I offend her in some way? Why would she attack me as soon as I arrive? Just when the poor puzzling elder was still pondering on his own course of action in this case, Bai Ning had already reached over to the side and smashed a leg off of a chair to use as her weapon, aggressive and intimidating in her stance. How dare you people still come find my daughter? Casting the bait for, am I not supposed to come find Her Highness? Why is the queen's mother so angry? This have I done something? First Elder asks with an aggrieved face. Mother! Bai Yin tried to explain, but was promptly cut off by the powerful look from her own mother. You don't have to say anything. Today, no one is allowed to take you away. Before I wasn't around, so these people were able to pick on you and my grandson. But not anymore. Pick on the queen and the prince. Twitching in the corner of his mouth, First Elder couldn't complain about half of that, because it's partially true. The king picking on the prince is true, but when have the king picked on the queen? It can't be. The queen's mother found out about that incident where someone impersonated the king and drove the queen away and hurt the young prince? Thinking up to here, the elder hurriedly wiped away the trickle of sweat from his forehead. Madam Bai, it's a misunderstanding. I can explain. Explain what? Bai Ning furiously swings the chair leg around in the air, until she eventually locks it point blank into First Elder's face. You bunch drove my daughter and grandson out from their home first, so don't come asking them back, just because you feel like it. Scram. All of you scram. Out of consideration for my daughter's sake, I won't hurt any of you. But if you continue to stay and make trouble, then don't blame me for not being kind. Bai Yan's face was pitch black at this point over what's being said. She naturally knew her son had said plenty of bad things about Di Song in front of her mother Bai Ning. But to cause this level of a reaction was, well, damning. So, after looking at the dumbfounded and nervous First Elder, she then turns to her mother and said, Mother, it's all Xiaoqin's nonsense, Di Song he. Yenner, I know you can't let go of that man and want to defend him, but I will never let him hurt you anymore. My daughter is the best in the world, so you will be matched with the best, of course. If he breaks your heart, then why should you keep him inside? In Bai Ning's view, her son-in-law must be impeccable in order to match her impeccable daughter. Anything lesser would be an instant out. But mother, everything really isn't like that. It's Xiaoqin stretching the story. Growing urgent now, Bai Yin continues to defend her husband before things get completely out of hand. You don't need to keep defending him, Yenner. How old is Xiaoqin? There's no way he would lie. From what I can see, these people are only here to take you back without caring for you. Don't worry. I won't let them get their way and make you suffer again. When a person's face goes so dark that it's turning white, you know things are getting desperate, and that's exactly what's happening to Bai Yin in this case. Xiaoqin, hurry and explain the matter to your grandmother. The poor lady almost sounded pleading to her own boy. Oh! Puckering his lip, the boy begrudgingly did as told using his innocent face. Grandmother, my father is actually not bad. Although I hate it when he keeps my mother's attention all to himself. But he's sincere to us nevertheless. Really? Said Bai Ning with a doubtful voice. Due to all the salt added by the boy during their time together, the grandmother had a lot of trouble believing Di Tsong to be a good person. Heck, she still didn't believe, but won't go against the boy's cuddly and innocent face. Bai Xiachen nodded in earnest. I wanted to stay with you, so I made the story up about us being mistreated by batty father. Grandmother, I really like you. Can you become our family for real? Casting the bait 5. When facing such a lovely doll of a little boy, Bai Ning's heart could literally melt away from his cuteness. So how could she refuse him? Xiachen, we're already a family, your mother is my daughter, and you're my grandchild. Bai Ning's eye then gently squinted into a narrow slit as a touch of frost beamed out of them. Also, even if you say that, I still don't trust him. If he really cares for my daughter, then why is he not personally coming to pick you all up? Hurrying to speak up to answer that, First Elder didn't want any further misunderstanding. Queen, you have to believe in the king. He's been direly missing you these days while you were missing. We came as soon as he sensed your energy signature, however. He had to leave in the middle, due to something diverting his attention. Something happened. Clenching up in her heart, Bai Yin rushes over to grasp onto the elder's shoulder. Did Di Tsong get hurt? With her knowledge and understanding of her husband, she's certain Di Tsong would have came in person if he could. The fact that he left midway must be because of something important and urgent. The king wasn't hurt, and I don't know what exactly happened either. In the end, the elder decides to keep his mouth shut, due to the orders he's been given prior. Despite the lack of details, Bai Yin did feel relieved her husband wasn't injured. It's good that he's not hurt, that's good. Bai Ning didn't miss her daughter's expression, of course, and grew aggravated over how easily she flew to the man's defense, glaring with her eagle eyes at the old man. If he wants my daughter back, then he better come in person to show his sincerity. I won't let my daughter go otherwise. Now scram. Making a difficult face, Queen. Drawing a smile after calming herself as well over the good news. It's okay, First Elder, I'm fine where I am. I want to spend some more time with my mother for now. Since the Queen herself has spoken, there's no reason for the elder to stick around. Arching his fist. Then I'll go back first and report this to the king. If your highness wish to go back, then his majesty will be here in person. Bai Yin nods with a faint smile. Until my mother regains her memory of the past, I won't leave. By the way, pass on a message to Di Tsong for me. If he has something important to do, then he can come later. There's no need to hurry. Yes, Queen. When the elder received his orders to leave, he and his demon guards were soon scattered and gone, leaving only an empty street in their wake. Mother. Bai Yin breaks out into a giggling chuckle after finding Bai Ning still steaming on the face. Di Tsong is not that kind of person. Snorting at that defense. He better not be. My daughter can only bully others, never be bullied. If that guy is bad to you, then I won't let you two be together, even if I draw your hate. What of breaking a couple with a stick? As long as the man shows any sign of wrongdoing, I will take Yinner away from him and keep them apart. My daughter must be loved for a lifetime. Bai Yin naturally knew Bai Ning was looking out for her by reacting this way, so she didn't say anything hurtful. Besides, she knows the lady would understand her husband's sincerity soon enough. Casting the bait 6. Meanwhile, not far away in a mountainous forest, Chui Feng was partially leaning down against a tree, due to his body being so weak and pale. Thank you. Half a moment later, these words of gratitude were what broke the silence in the forest. Despite this, the man standing there and looking down didn't respond right away, only continuing to make his expressionless face. Seeing the man won't talk, Chui Feng dons a faint smile, and continued to speak on his own accord. Me being injured, I hope you can keep it a secret from Yenner. That finally drew a reaction from Di Tsong, who came to his aid after diverting partway to meet his wife. Don't worry, I'm not so stupid to do that. You are injured because of her. If she finds out, then she will certainly come to your side to care for you. I am a man. Naturally I won't want my woman to tend to others. Chu Yifeng's body went stiff over that hurtful statement, making him look all the more frail under the slight breeze. But you helped me in the end. I saved you for Yenner's sake, so don't mistake me. If anything happens to you, then she will undoubtedly be saddened knowing her character. I do not want to see a drop of tear from her. He only wants her to smile all her life, never to shed a drop of tear. That means even if the other person was Chu Yifeng, his one-time love rival, Di Song would still help him, and not turn a blind eye. Besides, you saved Yenner many times as her husband. It's only right I repay her debt, so no need to thank me. The faint smile finally disappeared from Chu Yifeng's face following that, replaced only by a bittersweet flavor because those words were like knives, piercing into his heart at every turn. I am not worried with Yenner marrying you, and I hope in the future you can always treat her like you are doing now. Suppressing the sadness in his heart, the young handsome man then got sharp when confronting the Demon King's gaze. But if I know you are to ever make her sad, I will use all my means to steal her back from you. Because of her happiness he was willing to let go. Now and into the future, for her happiness as well, he's willing to steal her back if she's ever saddened. I can give you that promise. In this life I will love her with me all, never to allow a trace of sadness to plague her. Di Song's voice was firm and strong, leaving no room for doubt in his vow. Perhaps he was pleased to hear that oath, or he's finally regained enough strength. But Chu Yifeng gradually and sloppily got up from the ground. Due to how unstable he was, the young man had to lean against the trunk still in order to keep his posture. Also, you have to be careful of a certain person. Who? Di Song asks with alarm in his voice. Yenner should have met him already. He's a man that looks very much like me. You have to be careful with him, and not let Yenner get hurt. That brought the Demon King's voice down to a frosty chill. Do you know something that I don't? I only came across the information not long ago, but can't confirm it yet. Chu Yifeng smiles wryly as he looked the man dead in the eye. Di Song, I gave Yenner to you, so you must protect her at all cost. There are some things I can't tell you now, but you and her will naturally find out on your own. Gradually leaving the tree behind himself, the young lord of the Holy Land didn't give another glance backwards, only slowly trudging forwards into the inner depths of the mountain. Sire. An old figure eventually descends from the sky after Di Song was left alone again, his voice respectful and compliant. Ning Yuan's lover 1. Where's my wife? Asked Di Song with a frown after turning around. Sire, I am incompetent, failed to bring Her Highness back with me, but rest assured, she and the prince is very safe. They're currently staying with the queen's mother. Yin Yan's mother. Raising his brow. Yin Yan's mother is also there. Can it be, she's found her birth mother? If this is the case, Yin Yan's most worried subject can finally be put to rest. But, First Elder then looked up to meet the loosening expression of the king. Apparently the queen's mother has some kind of misconception about you, sire. She demands you to go pick up the queen yourself if you wish to retrieve her. Expressionless still. I understand, you can go back first. Yes, sire. When the elder's old figure finally departed, Di Song also went ahead to take his leave, heading straight into the dense shrubbery for his intended destination. Inside a well-hidden cave of a valley where combat took place, Ning Yuan was struggling to get himself up from the dirty ground when he pulled at his wounds again, causing a layer of sweat to come forward as result. That fucking bitch. Sooner or later I'll snap and break her apart for what she did to me. After swearing that to himself, this scum who wanted to take Bai Yan's life, but got injured instead, turned sinister in his face. But I have already given you that poison. I bet she's succeeded by now. Once that bitch is gone, then no one will ever know what I have done. It's a shame though. Perhaps this time I will have to sacrifice you, but that's fine. As long as I can get Ninger to stay by my side forever, then sacrificing a daughter is nothing. I can always make more like her. It's then a slight rustling sound came from the front entranceway of the cave. How did the matter go with you? Ning Yuan snickers and asked the figure who entered into his view. The newcomer was a woman wearing a long yellow dress, her skin fair and white, and that face truly worthy of a prize without any blemishes. If there's any fault, it would be that expression that's tinged with the look of grief. Brother Yuan, Bai Ning never liked you from the start. Why do you keep clinging on to her? You will never understand my feelings. From the very first day I met Ninger, I have vowed to make her mine. Even if the price is great, I will have her as mine. There's absolute determination in those eyes when the scum said that. Clenching her fist in frustration from that statement, the woman in yellow pleads again. But Yuer is your daughter. Isn't it too dangerous to have her carry out a task like that? So are you implying you can and she can't? Ning Yuan glances and sneered at the lady across from himself. Don't forget, I saved you only because I wanted you to help care for my daughter while Ninger is not around. You are to never show yourself before her. If she ever learns of your existence, then I will not let you off, understand? I was wrong from the very beginning. I should not have gone to fuck another woman in a vain attempt at rousing jealousy from Ninger. That only backfired and ruined any chances I had. Thankfully she eventually lost her memory and forget everything. I won't let this second chance pass me again, never. Ning Yuan's lover too. Since it was not easy to get the chance, he naturally wouldn't allow other females to appear by his side. This was also the reason why Bai Ning never discovered this other woman, who has been around for so long. She had always hidden herself from view. The outburst hurt the lady in yellow greatly, of course. She simply never thought her own existence would be so pitiful despite sticking with this man for so many years. Seemingly becoming aware of the effects his words had on the lady, Ning Yuan's tone promptly softened up as he continued. Luoxian, as long as you keep to my will then you are still my woman. However, if she finds out about you then you can't stay around anyways. Do you understand? Pursing her lips, Luoxian didn't give a reply to the man, because it stung knowing she's second fiddle. Truth was, from the very beginning that she followed him, she had known her own fate wouldn't be great. Nothing but a sex toy for Ning Yuan to vent his lust. But even so, she went ahead with that decision due to her love for him. Tell me first, Luoxian, did that girl die yet from the poison I gave you? Ning Yuan's gaze was burning with a dark light when asking that, showing how much he hated Bai Yin from the hearts down. Growing paler at the topic over the dreaded topic, Luoxian met the man's gaze with her own. The man whom she followed without regret for the past decade and more. Yuer was afraid of being exposed, so she didn't poison that woman. Instead she got someone to go make trouble for that by Yin using her own plan. Brother Yuan, please don't be mad with her, but Yuer was exposed on the spot when she tried that. Now she's been driven out of the inn, and can no longer go back. Ning Yuan's happy face instantly crumbled, replaced only by a distorted outrage on the face. How dare she go against my will? I told her to poison that bitch. Did she not hear me clearly? Why didn't she poison her? Luoxian didn't know what to say right now because this sort of behavior was a first for the man. Ignoring whether Ning Yuan was sincere about Ningyu, she's still his biological daughter. Never has he ever beaten the girl, so imagine him lashing out because she didn't listen? That's something completely out of the norm. Brother Yuan, she's afraid. Luoxian attempts to defend Ning Yu due to her own fondness for the lass. Quit defending her. You think just because of that reasoning that she can disobey me and do something that's stupid? Do you think those people won't notice her stupidity? The more he spoke, the more outraged the scum became. Where's Yuer now? Why didn't that woman kill her? Shaking her head. That woman did not kill her, only kicking her out. Brother Yuan, you already suffered a lot this time, she has. Shut up. Ning Yuan snaps, his eyes raging with madness. That girl disobeyed me so she might as well die for it. If not for Ninger liking her so much, I would have strangled her at birth just like what I did to her mother. He only likes Bai Ning and whatever children she would bore him. As for any other like Ningyu, they are unimportant and nothing but tools in his eye. It's obvious to this scum that girl was no longer needed if she couldn't be of use, meaning he won't leave her alive anymore, just like her birth mother. Wait, did you say Bai Yin let her go? Eventually Ning Yuan regains his composure like a predator sensing danger. That's right. The lady carefully nodded, unsure why he would ask for confirmation. Sneering. Although I didn't interact with that bitch a lot, but I can at least tell she's not one to leave those who cross her alone. So why did she let you go? Ning Yuan's lover 3. Lu Xian clamped her lips tightly and didn't say another word. She's got this feeling that the man before herself was very strange to the point where she couldn't recognize him anymore. Not good. Ning Yuan's expression suddenly changed for a whiter shade as she glared at the lady. Did you tell you where I am? Startled at first, Lu Xian eventually decides to speak knowing she must. I left a mark for her so she could find us. Bang! Throwing a punch without any sign, Ning Yuan was furious as he watched the lady fly out across the air and landing several meters away into the weeds. But that clearly wasn't enough. Before the lady could react and look up, the scum was already in front of her and dragged her off the ground by the collar. Who allowed you to leak my whereabouts to her? Do you think that Bai Yin is some idiot that would let her go? She is only using you to get to me. What you did is the same as sending me onto the death road. She was already in quite the pain due to that punch, but the explanation from the scum completely left Lu Xian dumbfounded. Half a ring later, she slowly mutters out her response. Then what should we do, Brother Yuan? If my speculations are right, you should be here soon. Damn it. Distorted in his face, Ning Yuan wanted to leave right away, but couldn't when that excited voice reached over from his rear. Pa! The voice was full of sorrow and anger, but mostly grievance when crying out to the scum. Ning Yuan naturally didn't find the reunion pleasant like a father meeting his daughter would. Rather, there's an unbridled fury burning in those eyes. In an instant, the man had shot out his feelers to search for signs of the enemy. Fortunately for him, he found none, and that brought on a sense of relief. Pa, I finally found you. Ning Yu apparently didn't notice the oddity in her father's behavior and rushed over in rapid strides. To this petite girl, Ning Yuan was her only and recognized true family. Therefore the tenseness in her heart was elevated the moment she saw that powerful back. However, beyond what she expected, the second she got close enough to jump into the man for a hug, Ning Yu had found her face being smacked with a hand instead, leaving her cheeks painfully swollen from the impact. Pa! She blubbers this word out after being stunned by the stinging pain. To be clear, never in her lifetime has Ning Yu been hit by her father. This was the first, also likely the last. You still dare to come back? Ning Yuan lashes out at his daughter, his finger pointing. Why did you not do as I say? Now you want me to clean up your mess? Ning Yu's body quivered at the accusation, her lips stuttering as she spoke. Pa, I told you I am scared. Scared? What use are you then? Can't even do a little thing like that. I've wasted all those years raising you. Red in the eyes, the scum has lost all reasoning when yelling at his own daughter, and left the girl's heart shattered to pieces. Ning Yu's despair won. Pa, you can't mean that. I am your daughter, your closest kin. Even if I am no longer useful, I am still your blood. Family? Ha! Ning Yuan loudly snickers a sneer. If not for Ninger liking you so much back then, would I have left you behind? Your use is nothing more than to please her. Aside from that, you are absolutely useless. Now get out of sight, my sight, the further the better. You made such a stupid mistake, so don't go dragging me down with you. If this lass continues to stay, then that Bai Yin will surely find her way to this place. In any case, I can't keep her around. No. Ning Yu clings onto the scum's sleeve like she's grabbing onto her only lifeline. Pa, you can't leave me, you can't. What am I supposed to do without you? Auntie Ning already doesn't want me. I can't be without family. Scram! Bang! Slamming his palm against the girl's chest, Ning Yu went flying as a result of the strike, only stopping after slamming into a nearby boulder. As a result of the pain, Ning Yu could barely keep her face in check and grew ghostly white. Match that with the tears on her face, the once proud girl dons a picture of pathetic pity. Lu Xian quickly ran over to help the girl from the floor, her eyes full of aching pain. Are you all right? Your father is only too angry right now, so don't take his words too seriously. But out of expectation, Instead of being thankful for the aid, Ningyu pushes the hand away like she's touching something dirty. You go away. When did my families matter, need a bed warming, made like you to get involved? Don't think just because you took care of me when I was a child that you can act like my mother. I didn't. I really do love you. Who allowed you to call me Yuer? I don't need your pity. I told you, my mother can only be by Ning. Who do you think you are? In a fit of rage, Ningyu began pounding away at the lady's chest, both scolding and scratching like a mad cat. Don't think just because you slept with my pa that you can be his woman. I won't recognize your identity. My Auntie Ning is not only strong, she also has an extremely powerful demonic beast at her summoning. What do you have? With your strength, you're not even qualified to be a maid. Since the last didn't dare to throw her anger at Ning Yuan over there, the only other option was to vent at Lu Xian, who seemed more vulnerable. Lu Xian didn't say anything against the abuse though, only staring at the scum with eyes of pleading, hoping the man would change his mind about abandoning the girl. What are you still doing there? Hurry up and leave with me. If you pity her then you can stay here instead. I don't need you to service me anymore. To emphasize his words, the scum actually snickers a laugh like the ones in front of him were nothing but baggage. Ningyu's despair too. Though Lu Xian wasn't as beautiful as Bai Ning in appearance, but she's still a first-class beauty, hence the reason Ning Yuan never drove her away and only hidden her from sight. He has sexual needs too, and she's the perfect venting hole for that. As for Ningyu, well, nothing but a daughter. He could make plenty more once he gets his hands on Bai Ning. He's young, strong, and plentiful down there. What does a daughter or two matter to him? Lu Xian knew of this fact of course, so after a final pitiful glance at the lass, the lady also grew firm, and gave up to leave for the scum's side. Against the abandonment from all those whom she knew, Ningyu finally began to panic and quickly clung onto the lady's sleeve. Don't go, don't leave me alone, I'm afraid. Auntie Ning already left me. Are you also going to leave me? Lu Xian's body stiffened at that plead, but once her eyes met with the scum's who had clearly grown impatient at this point, the lady could only sigh and shirk off the desperate hand. Dreading with fear, Ningyu didn't dare to stay down knowing she might really be abandoned and chased after the two. Pa, please take me along. I promise to be good from now on, please, I don't want to stay here alone. Despite the crying tears and constant words from his own blood, Ning Yuan felt nothing and didn't leave a single speck of his attention behind. Gradually, his figure was disappearing from view, leaving only the crumbling and despairing-faced Ningyu in the background. However, in the moment before the scum completely disappears and flees from the valley, a low and old-sounding laughter rumbles through the sky, sending a chill through Ning Yuan's skin. Who? Spinning around, he searches for the voice but found nothing. But he didn't need to search. In fact, the voice came to him when that old figure emerged from his illusionary hiding. She's right. Just following this lass will lead me to you sooner or later. Dragon Flame sarcastically states this. It's as Ning Yuan suspected. Bai Yan did have the old goat tail the petite girl since her departure, knowing fully well she would search out her father after being driven out. It's you, the scum exclaims, his fists crunching and his eyes burning with fury. Just now I clearly checked to see if someone followed her. How did you hide your energy signature? Snickering a sneer. That woman is an alchemist. Why are you acting so surprised about me hiding myself from your senses? Dragon Flame wouldn't admit Bai Yan as her mistress, so he would never address her as such, hence the disrespect. Ning Yuan's expression went a shade whiter at knowledge. Without hesitation he bites his teeth and yelled, "We're leaving now!" Lu Xian didn't respond right away against the speeding back of the scum, only looking back at the despairing Ningyu in the background. However, in order to save her own life, she could only bear the merciful side of her consciousness and give up on the girl. She may like the lass, but she values her own life more in this situation. That's just human nature. Ningyu's despair 3. Want to flee? Dragon Flame snorted, his figure disappearing in a flash and blocking off the scum up ahead. Outraged, Ning Yuan lashes out. What the hell are you trying to do? Trying to hurt that Bai Yin is that girl. It has nothing to do with me. If you want the one responsible, then it's her you want, not me. Those words surely reached Ning Yu's ear. And sure enough, the girl's eyes were lifeless then, as she stared up to the man whom she considered her closest kin. My biological father is actually making me pay for his crime? How laughable. So this is called affection? The love he showed me are all lies? He only cared for me because he didn't want to break Auntie Ning's heart. And I hurt and disappointed the only person who truly cared for me. I hurt Auntie Ning. I'm so foolish, I'm so foolish. Perhaps the situation has caused the petite girl to completely give up on life. Despite the great opportunity to flee for her own life, she actually didn't move and stayed motionless on the ground. Dragon Flame could care less about the woes of some insignificant brat, of course, and went for the parts that hurt in her words. I remember this girl is your daughter, is she not? Pointing to Ningyu, who was still lying on the floor in a stupor state. It looks like you humans are just as ruthless as ever. Things never change. In order to save your own life, you will even abandon your own flesh and blood. One of the main reasons the old goat hated humanity was because of their cruelty and lack of affection for one another. So he detested the scum even more now. Unfazed by the mockery, Ning Yuan draws a contemptuous smirk in retaliation. You're only talking big because you and that Chui Feng teamed up to fight me. Now that I'm injured and can't fight, you dare to act all arrogant? Don't think I'm some pushover. Glaring in his eyes now. And what if I'm ruthless? In this world, feelings are nothing but tools to me. There are only those who are useful to me and not useful. Since she's in the latter category of being useless, she can only blame herself for being born my daughter. The way the scum said that sounded righteously smooth, because the bastard never once considered his logic flawed. Then what about Bai Ning? The old goat snickers and asks again, pointing out in the hypocrisy in the scum's words. Sure enough, Ning Yuan became choked for words and didn't reply. He may call other people tools for him to use, but regarding Bai Ning, he truly did love her. Though twisted and wrong, he still does. Perhaps the lady was the only existence in this world where this scum didn't have ulterior motives in mind. Ninger is not the same. She is good and beautiful. I would never hurt her. If she wasn't so distant to me back then, I wouldn't have slept with Yuer's mother either. I only wanted to provoke jealousy in her. But that was a mistake when I ended up making that slut pregnant. Growing increasingly more frustrated on his face. At the beginning I wanted to abort the baby, but then Ninger found out about the situation and advised me to keep it. Humph. I may have kept the baby alive to please my Ninger, but that doesn't mean I will leave that slut alone. The baby only needs one mother, and it will be my one and only Ninger. When the petite girl on the ground finally heard the last bit about only needing one mother, her heart promptly stopped beating like someone squeezed on it and ripped it out. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.